Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Naruto inherited the adamantine sealing chains like Kushina and used them in battle? Subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and also check the description, so let's begin the story. The morning sun glinted off kunai as they sliced through the air, their deadly arc aimed directly at Naruto Uzumaki's exposed back. The blonde genin twisted mid-leap, his face contorting with panic as he realized he wouldn't dodge in time. His heart hammered against his ribs, a drum of pure adrenaline. Too fast. In that crystallized moment of terror, something shifted inside him. Not the familiar burn of the Nine-Tails chakra, but something different, cooler, steadier, like liquid gold flowing through his veins. The clearing exploded with light. Golden chains erupted from Naruto's body, their links humming with power as they formed an instinctive shield. The kunai struck the chains with a musical clang before clattering harmlessly to the grass. For 3 breathless seconds, the chains hung suspended in the air, brilliant and impossible, before dissolving into particles of light. Naruto crashed to the ground, wide-eyed and panting. What the hell was that? Across the training ground, Iruka-sensei stood frozen, his mouth agape and his hands still extended from throwing the practice weapons. His face had drained of all color. That's enough for today, Naruto, he stammered, composing himself with visible effort. His eyes darted around the training ground, checking if anyone else had witnessed the phenomenon. Wait here. Don't move. But Iruka-sensei. Naruto scrambled to his feet, his orange jumpsuit smudged with dirt. What just happened? Did you see that? It was like, he waved his arms wildly, whoosh, and then chains. Coming right out of me. Iruka placed a firm hand on Naruto's shoulder, his expression unnervingly serious. Naruto, listen carefully. Don't tell anyone what just happened. I need to speak with the Hokage immediately. But, no buts. This is important. Iruka's tone left no room for argument. Just, wait here. Practice your shadow clones or something. Naruto slumped against the training post as Iruka disappeared in a swirl of leaves. The forest around him seemed suddenly quiet, as if the entire world was holding its breath. He stared at his hands, turning them over as if expecting to see some physical change. They looked the same, calloused, slightly dirty, with a small cut on his left thumb from a kunai mishap earlier. What's happening to me? He whispered. The Hokage tower cast long shadows as evening approached. Naruto fidgeted in the hallway outside the third Hokage's office, his patience wearing thinner with each passing minute. He'd been summoned an hour after Iruka left him, and now he was stuck waiting while adults talked about him behind closed doors. Again, he pressed his ear against the heavy wooden door, straining to hear the muffled voices inside. No mistake about it, Iruka was saying. Golden chains, just like the reports described. They manifested when he felt threatened, at his age. The third's voice sounded weary. Earlier than she did. Should we tell him everything? Another voice, Kakashi-sensei? No. The third's voice hardened. The law still stands, but he deserves to know this much, at least. Naruto jerked back as footsteps approached the door. He quickly pretended to be examining a painting on the opposite wall when the door swung open. Naruto, Iruka called, his expression carefully neutral. The Hokage will see you now. The office smelled of pipe tobacco and old scrolls. Evening light filtered through the windows, casting the room in amber hues that reminded Naruto uncomfortably of those mysterious chains. The third sat behind his desk, fingers steepled, his weathered face giving nothing away. Kakashi leaned against the wall, his visible eye watching Naruto with unusual intensity. Am I in trouble? Naruto blurted out, unable to stand the silence any longer. Because whatever happened, I didn't mean to do it. I don't even know what I did. A smile crinkled the corners of the third's eyes. You're not in trouble, Naruto. Quite the contrary. The Hokage reached into his desk and withdrew a small wooden box. He placed it on the desk with careful reverence, and opened it to reveal a single lock of vibrant red hair, tied with a simple string. Do you know what happened today at the training ground? The third asked. Naruto shifted his weight from foot to foot. Some kind of weird jutsu activated? I've never seen chains like that before. That's because it's extremely rare. The third's voice softened. It's called the adamantine sealing chains, a Kekkei Genkai, a bloodline ability, that belonged to a very special kunoichi of the hidden leaf. Naruto's breath caught. Something in the old man's tone made his heart race. Who? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The third looked him directly in the eyes. Your mother, Naruto. Kushina Uzumaki. The world seemed to tilt beneath Naruto's feet. A roaring filled his ears, drowning out everything except those 3 words. Your mother. Kushina. My mother? The words felt foreign on his tongue, as if he never truly understood their meaning until this moment. Her name was Kushina? The third nodded, sliding the box with the red hair toward him. This was hers. She was known as the red hot-blooded habanero because of her fiery temper and this brilliant red hair. Naruto reached for the box with trembling fingers, afraid it might vanish if he moved too quickly. The strand of hair glowed like fire in the evening light. She had this ability? He asked, his voice cracking. Yes. The third looked to Kakashi, who stepped forward. I saw her use it once, Kakashi said quietly. It was impressive. The chains could extend great distances, create barriers, and bind enemies with unbreakable force. In the right hand sits one of the most versatile and powerful defensive techniques in the shinobi world. Questions exploded in Naruto's mind, 1,000 at once, fighting to be asked first. Was she strong? Did she like ramen too? Why did nobody ever tell me her name before? What was she like? Did she? The third raised a hand, stopping the flood. Naruto, there are reasons why information about your parents has been restricted. Some of those reasons still stand. Naruto's momentary joy curdled into frustration. So you're still not going to tell me everything? Even now? I'm telling you what I can, the third said firmly. Your mother was an extraordinary kunoichi who came to our village from the land of whirlpools. She was an Uzumaki, like you, a clan renowned for their sealing techniques, special chakra, and in rare cases, these adamantine chains. Iruka placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. This is a good thing, Naruto. You've inherited something incredible. But Naruto barely heard him. His mind raced through years of loneliness, of questions met with silence, of wondering why he had no family when everyone else did. All this time, he said, his voice low and shaking, I didn't even know her name. The third sighed, suddenly looking every one of his years. I'm sorry, Naruto. Truly. But know this, she loved you more than life itself. Both your parents did. Naruto's head snapped up. My father? Who? That's enough for today, the third said firmly. The appearance of these chains changes things. Kakashi will help you understand this ability and learn to control it. Naruto wanted to argue, to demand more answers, but the determination in the Hokage's eyes told him it would be futile. Instead, he closed his fingers around the box containing his mother's hair, holding it like the precious treasure it was. When do we start? He asked Kakashi. Tomorrow, his sensei replied. Get some rest tonight. You'll need it. Hours later, Naruto sat cross-legged on his apartment floor, the box open before him. The strand of red hair caught the moonlight streaming through his window. Kushina Uzumaki. My mother. He held his hands out before him, turning them over slowly, searching for some sign of the power that had erupted from them earlier. Concentrating, he tried to recall the feeling, not the fear, but the cool, flowing sensation that had preceded the chain's appearance. Nothing happened. Naruto clenched his fists, determination hardening his features. His eyes, reflecting the moonlight, shone with newfound purpose. I'll master this, he promised the empty room, his voice steady. I'll make you proud, Mom. In the silence of his apartment, with the first tangible connection to his mother cradled in his hands, Naruto made his vow. The chains that had appeared today weren't just a new jutsu to learn. They were threads connecting him to a past he'd never known and a legacy he was only beginning to understand. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. Dawn broke over Konoha in shattered fragments of amber and gold, painting the Hokage monument in warm light as Naruto bounded up the spiral staircase of the Hokage tower. His footsteps echoed like drumbeats against stone, heart hammering with anticipation. Sleep had evaded him all night, his mind ablaze with questions that burned like paper tags waiting to explode. The third Hokage's office door stood ajar. Naruto skidded to a halt, caught the familiar scent of pipe tobacco hanging in the air like a mist. Inside, the old man stood by the window, silhouetted against the morning light, his weathered hands clasped behind his back. You're early, Hiruzen remarked without turning, amusement threading through his voice. Couldn't sleep. Naruto burst into the room, energy coiled tight in his limbs. You said you'd tell me more about. His voice caught, still unaccustomed to having a name to say. About my mother. The third turned, shadows playing across the deep valleys of his face. Indeed I did. He gestured to a low table where scrolls and faded photographs were arranged with deliberate care. Sit, Naruto. Naruto dropped cross-legged onto the floor, hands braced on his knees, body practically vibrating. The sunlight filtering through the window caught dust motes swirling in the air between them, golden particles dancing like the fading whispers of his chains. Kushina Uzumaki, Hiruzen began, lowering himself across from Naruto, came to Konoha as a young girl from the land of whirlpools. A place now lost to us. Lost? Naruto leaned forward. What happened? Pain flickered across the old man's face. The Uzumaki clan possessed abilities that others feared. Their mastery of sealing techniques, Fuinjutsu, was unparalleled. The village hidden in the land of whirlpools, Uzushiobikure, was destroyed during wartime, its people scattered. The Hokage unrolled a yellowed map showing a spiraling island. The Uzumaki were our closest allies. Their symbol, this spiral, is incorporated into every Konoha flak jacket as testament to that bond. He tapped Naruto's shoulder, where the orange fabric bore the swirled insignia. I've been wearing my clan symbol this whole time? Naruto's fingers brushed the spiral, feeling its curves with newfound reverence. Hiruzen nodded, the ghost of a smile crossing his lips. Now, about the adamantine sealing chains, your mother's most formidable technique. He unfurled a scroll illustrated with faded ink drawings of golden chains spiraling from a red-haired woman. Kushina could manifest these chains as extensions of her own chakra, powerful enough to restrain even the most fearsome opponents. Naruto's eyes widened, drinking in the illustrations like a man dying of thirst. She could control them? Make them do whatever she wanted? With practice, yes. The third's fingers traced the delicate drawings. At their strongest, her chains could form barriers impenetrable to almost any attack, but such mastery took years. A soft knock interrupted them. Kakashi slouched in the doorway, his visible eye curved in what might have been a smile. You're late, the third observed dryly. Well, you see, there was this elderly woman with groceries and… Save it, Naruto cut in, leaping to his feet. Are you gonna teach me about the chains now? Kakashi's eye flickered between Naruto and the scroll. That's the plan. The Hokage thought someone who's actually seen the adamantine chains in action might be helpful. You saw my mom use them? Naruto's voice pitched higher, excitement crackling through his words like lightning. Something shifted in Kakashi's posture, a tightening in his shoulders almost imperceptible beneath his casual stance. Once, he said, voice carefully neutral. It was memorable. The third cleared his throat. Before you begin practical training, there's something else I want to show you, Naruto. From a locked cabinet behind his desk, Hiruzen withdrew a small crystal, no larger than his palm. It caught the light, fracturing it into prisms that danced across the walls. A chakra recording, he explained. Rare and difficult to create, but Kushina insisted. She wanted to preserve some of her techniques for future generations of Uzumaki. A shadow passed over his face. She didn't know she would be the last of her generation. Naruto stared at the crystal, mouth slightly open. She's in there? Her chakra? A small piece of it, yes. The third placed it in Naruto's palms. The crystal felt warm against his skin, humming with dormant energy. Channel a small amount of your chakra into it. Hands trembling, Naruto focused. Blue energy flickered around his fingers, seeping into the crystal's facets. Light erupted from within, coalescing into a three-dimensional projection above their heads. A memory captured in chakra and light. A clearing bordered by ancient trees. Kushina Uzumaki stood in its center, her crimson hair whipping around her like flames in a phantom wind. Her face set in fierce concentration, jade eyes narrowed against an unseen enemy. You wanted to see the extent of my capabilities, Lord Third? Her voice echoed, distorted slightly by the recording method, but undeniably alive. Then watch carefully. Golden chains burst from her back, from her shoulders, from her outstretched arms. A dozen, then 2 dozen, then too many to count. They sliced through the air with fluid precision, weaving into complex patterns overhead. Some plunged into the earth, others formed a dome around her, links humming with power. The chains respond to my will, to my intent, she explained, demonstrating with a flick of her wrist that sent 3 chains spiraling around a target dummy. They can bind. The chains constricted, crushing the dummy to splinters. They can defend. Chains interlocked into a golden shield that deflected a barrage of kunai. And with the right seals, her hands formed rapid signs, chakra flaring blue gold at her fingertips. They can contain nearly anything. The chains lit with complex sealing formulas that raced along their links like living calligraphy. Where they touched the ground, the earth itself was marked with spiraling seals. This is the legacy of Uzushiobikure, Kushina declared, fierce pride blazing in her eyes. The strength of the Uzumaki flows through these chains. The projection flickered and died. Silence fell over the office, thick as winter fog. Naruto sat frozen, tears streaking unchecked down his whiskered cheeks. She was… The words died in his throat. Extraordinary, Kakashi finished quietly. Naruto clutched the crystal, its glow fading as the last of the projection dissolved. He could still see her, Fiery hair, determined eyes, that confident stance so at odds with his own gangly uncertainty. Why? The question burst from him, raw and jagged. Why didn't I know any of this until now? Why was everything about her kept secret from me? His voice cracked, anger and grief colliding like storm fronts. I had nothing. Not even a name. And all this time, Naruto. The third's voice cut through his rising fury. There were reasons, not good enough. Naruto slammed his fist against the table, making the scrolls jump. What reasons could be worth letting me grow up thinking nobody wanted me? That I came from nothing? Kakashi stepped forward, his hand settling on Naruto's shoulder with unexpected weight. There are still things we can't tell you, not yet. But you're wrong about one thing. His voice dropped, almost gentle. You never came from nothing. You came from her. The simple truth of it knocked the air from Naruto's lungs. He stared at his hands, trying to imagine them trailing golden chains like hers. The anger didn't vanish, but it ebbed enough for him to breathe. Will you teach me? He asked, voice suddenly small. Everything she could do? That's why I'm here, Kakashi replied. Though fair warning, it won't be easy. Those chains require chakra control you haven't exactly demonstrated yet. A familiar determination hardened in Naruto's blue eyes. I'll work harder than anyone. Believe it. Training ground 3 stretched out before them, morning dew still clinging to the grass. 3 wooden posts stood sentinel at its center, worn smooth by generations of Konoha shinobi testing their skills against unyielding timber. Kakashi crouched before Naruto, his Sharingan eye uncovered for once. The adamantine chains emerged from your chakra network, primarily here, here, and here. He tapped Naruto's shoulders and lower back. Kushina could manifest them from almost anywhere on her body. But let's start with basics. How do I make them appear? Naruto bounced on the balls of his feet, eager to begin. Focus on the flow of your chakra to those points, Kakashi instructed. The chains respond to emotional triggers, primarily the desire to protect. Yesterday they manifested when you felt threatened. Naruto frowned. So I have to be scared to use them? Not scared. Determined. Kakashi stood, hands in pockets. Think about something you want to protect. Channel that feeling. Naruto closed his eyes, face scrunching in concentration. He thought of Iruka-sensei taking a giant shuriken in the back to save him, of the third's weathered hands offering him ramen on lonely nights, of Sakura's smile, rare as spring blossoms. Nothing happened. Arg. Naruto kicked at the dirt. This is impossible. You managed it yesterday without even trying, Kakashi observed mildly. Perhaps you're trying too hard now. Easy for you to say. You're not the one standing here looking stupid. A flash of movement caught Naruto's eye. Kakashi flinging 3 shuriken with deadly accuracy, their path aimed directly at the center post, where Kakashi had planted a photo of Team 7. Naruto moved without thinking, hand outstretched. No! Golden light erupted from his palm, a single chain shooting forward with blinding speed, deflecting the stars seconds before they would have shredded the photograph. The chain hovered, glinting in the sunlight, before dissolving into particles. Interesting, Kakashi mused, visible eye crinkling. So that's what matters to you. Naruto stared at his hand, heart pounding. Did you see that? I did it. Once, Kakashi cautioned. Now do it again. Without me threatening your precious photo. What followed was 3 grueling hours of attempts, mostly failures. By midday, sweat plastered Naruto's blonde hair to his forehead, his breathing ragged. He managed to produce fragments of chains twice more, but nothing substantial enough to be useful. It's like trying to grab smoke, he groaned, flopping onto his back in the grass. I can feel it there, under my skin, but it keeps slipping away. Kakashi sat beside him, flipping idly through his ever-present orange book. Your mother struggled too, at first. Naruto propped himself up on his elbows. She did? Kakashi turned a page. The adamantine chains require a specific type of chakra control, not just precision, but emotional clarity. Kushina was passionate, like you. She had to learn to channel that passion, not suppress it. How'd she figure it out? Kakashi's eye moved from his book to the clouds overhead. She once told me it was like finding a thread in a tapestry. You don't pull the whole thing at once. You find one strand that feels right and follow it through the pattern. He shrugged. Whatever that means. Naruto chewed his lower lip. One thread, huh? Cicadas sang in the trees as afternoon heat shimmered over the training ground. Naruto sat cross-legged, eyes closed, trying a different approach. Instead of forcing his chakra outward in frustrated bursts, he turned his attention inward, feeling the currents of energy flowing through his body. There, Beneath the familiar blue chakra, something different. A cooler stream, golden like sunlight through honey, twining through his network. Tentatively, he mentally traced its path, following it through his abdomen, up his spine, branching through his shoulders. This is it. Mom's legacy. With gentle pressure, he nudged that golden stream toward his right palm, visualizing it extending beyond his fingers. The air around his hand seemed to vibrate, molecules dancing with anticipation. Naruto, Kakashi's voice came from what seemed a great distance away. Look! His eyes snapped open. From his palm, a single chain link had formed, not a full chain, just one perfect golden link hovering above his skin, spinning slowly in the afternoon light. It's so small, Naruto whispered, simultaneously disappointed and awed. But it's stable, Kakashi noted. You're not forcing it. That's progress. The link dissipated as Naruto's concentration broke, but the triumph remained, warm in his chest. I felt at that time, her chakra. It's inside me, mixed with mine. Kakashi's expression softened imperceptibly. The adamantine chains are more than just a technique, Naruto. They're a birthright. Twilight painted Konoha in shades of indigo and amber when Naruto finally returned to his apartment. Muscles aching, mind buzzing with all he'd learned. The crystal the third had given him sat on his windowsill, catching the last rays of sunset. Naruto unwrapped a package Kakashi had handed him before departing. A scroll bound in red silk, marked with the spiral of Yuzushiyo Bakure. Training exercises, Kakashi had said. Designed specifically for adamantine chain users. The third's been keeping it for you. Now, Naruto unrolled it carefully across his floor, the ancient paper crackling beneath his fingers. Diagrams and dense text covered its surface. Chakra flow patterns, meditation techniques, practical applications of the chains in combat scenarios. In the margins, handwritten notes in elegant script provided additional insights. His mother's handwriting. Naruto traced the characters with his fingertip, feeling strangely close to her despite the years and death that separated them. The scroll, the crystal, the chains themselves, pieces of a legacy he never knew he had, fragments of a mother he was only beginning to discover. Outside, stars emerged in the darkening sky. Naruto closed his eyes, folding his legs beneath him as the scroll instructed. His hands formed the seal illustrated in his mother's notes. Thumb and forefinger touched to create a circle, other fingers extended. Find the thread, he murmured, feeling for that distinctive chakra flow. Follow it through. In the quiet of his small apartment, Naruto Uzumaki began to meditate, seeking the golden current that flowed in his veins, his mother's final gift, a power that would reshape his destiny. Though he didn't know it yet, behind his closed eyelids, a faint golden glow had begun to emanate from his chakra points, casting his shadow in delicate chains against the wall behind him. The thread was there. He just needed to learn how to weave it. Dawn exploded across Konoha in a riot of crimson and gold, painting the village in fire. Naruto stood atop the Hokage monument, chest heaving, sweat crystallizing in the morning chill. 3 hours before sunrise he dragged himself up here, determined to practice away from prying eyes. Now, his muscles screamed in protest as he thrust his palm forward for what felt like the 1000th time. Come on, he growled through gritted teeth, chakra pulsing visibly around his outstretched hand. Come on! Golden sparks sputtered from his fingertips, swirled in the air, and vanished, scattered by the wind like dying fireflies. Naruto dropped to his knees, slamming his fist into the stone with enough force to split his knuckles. Damn it! The curse echoed across the empty village below. What am I doing wrong? Everything. Naruto whirled, startled by the drawling voice. Kakashi perched on the fourth Hokage's stone head, orange book dangling casually from his fingertips. How long have you been there? Naruto demanded, cheeks flushing. Long enough to watch you waste enough chakra to power the entire village. Kakashi snapped his book closed, fixing Naruto with his single visible eye. You're treating this like a brute force technique. It isn't. The Jonin landed soundlessly beside him, morning light catching in his silver hair. You've been at this for 5 days, pushing until you collapse. That approach works for your shadow clones, but the adamantine chains are different. He tapped Naruto's chest, right above his heart. They come from here, not from your fists. Naruto scowled. I'm trying everything in that scroll you gave me. Reading isn't your strong suit. You probably skipped the meditation sections. Bullseye. Naruto's flush deepened. Meet me at Training Ground 7. 1 hour. Kakashi vanished in a swirl of leaves, leaving Naruto alone with the rising sun and his simmering frustration. This is stupid, Naruto muttered, shifting uncomfortably on the flat rock where Kakashi had ordered him to sit. Water crashed nearby, The small waterfall at the edge of training ground 7 sending up a perpetual mist that dampened his jacket. How is sitting around gonna help me make chains? Across from him, Kakashi didn't open his eyes. Focus on your breathing. I've been focusing for 30 minutes. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening because you're still talking. Naruto clamped his mouth shut, crossing his arms over his chest. The morning humidity clung to his skin, mosquitoes buzzed by his ears, and somewhere nearby, a bird was making an obnoxiously repetitive call that drilled into his skull like a saban needle. How was he supposed to focus with all this? Your thoughts are so loud I can practically hear them, Kakashi sighed, finally opening his eye. Listen. Your chakra control is problematic. Hey, it's a fact, not an insult. You have enormous reserves but minimal precision, like trying to fill a teacup with a tsunami. Kakashi gestured toward the waterfall. Your chains require finesse. Right now, you're trying to force a technique that needs to flow naturally. Naruto slumped, uncharacteristically deflated. So what? I'm never gonna get it. I didn't say that. Kakashi stood in a fluid motion. I said you need help. Which is why, the assistance of a true chakra specialist has arrived. A voice boomed from behind them. Naruto whipped around to find Ebisu standing atop a boulder, sunlight gleaming off his dark glasses. The special Jonin adjusted his bandana, striking a pose that probably thought was impressive. Oh no, Naruto groaned. Not the closet pervert. Ebisu's posture stiffened. Such disrespect. After I've been personally requested to offer my expertise. Ebisu is one of the village's finest instructors in chakra control, Kakashi said mildly, ignoring the tension crackling between them. He's trained multiple Hokage candidates, and now I shall apply my considerable skills to assist you, despite your... Ebisu's glasses flashed as he looked Naruto up and down. Unique challenges. What's that supposed to mean? Naruto leapt to his feet, fists clenched. Kakashi stepped between them, his casual stance somehow defusing the situation instantly. Ebisu has developed specialized techniques for shinobi with large chakra reserves. You're going to listen to him. His visible eye curved in what might have been a smile. That's an order. The sun climbed higher, beating down on the training ground with merciless intensity. Naruto stood ankle-deep in the river, facing upstream, arms extended perpendicular to his body. Sweat dripped from his temple, sizzling as it hit the water's surface. Maintain the flow, Ebisu called from the shore, metronome ticking beside him. Visualize your chakra as water moving through channels, steady, controlled, deliberate. I'm trying. Naruto ground out, trembling with effort. Visible currents of chakra spiraled around his arms, blue energy tinged with gold at the edges. Too much. Ebisu snapped. You're flooding the pathways again. Less power, more precision. If I use less, nothing happens, because you're trying to force the outcome instead of guiding the process. Ebisu adjusted his glasses with an exasperated sigh. Again. From the beginning. 3 hours later, Naruto collapsed on the riverbank, sprawled on his back, chest heaving. The sky above him spun in lazy circles, clouds blurring into smears of white. His chakra network felt raw, like someone had scrubbed it with steel wool. This is impossible, he rasped. My chakra doesn't work like his. Ebisu loomed over him, blocking the sun. You're correct. It doesn't. Naruto blinked, surprised by the admission. Your chakra system is unlike any I've encountered, Ebisu continued, his tone shifting from harsh to analytical. The standard techniques are ineffective because your pathways have adapted to channel enormous quantities. We need a different approach. He crouched beside Naruto, sketching a diagram in the dirt with a stick. Most shinobi cultivate chakra like a garden, pruning, directing, nurturing specific paths. He paused, considering, you're more like a forest fire. Powerful, overwhelming, but ultimately directionless. So what am I supposed to do? Naruto propped himself up on his elbows, unexpectedly intrigued. Stop fighting your nature. Ebisu drew a spiral in the dirt. The Uzumaki were known for their special chakra. Powerful, resilient, with unique properties. Your chains emerge from that heritage, not from standard technique. Naruto frowned at the spiral. But how? Let me finish. Ebisu's glasses flashed in the sunlight. Tomorrow, we try something different. For now, rest. Your system needs recovery. As Ebisu walked away, Naruto stared at the spiral in the dirt. Recovery was the last thing on his mind. Night draped itself over Konoha like a velvet cloak, stars punching pinhole patterns in the darkness. Most of the village slept, but lights still burned in Naruto's apartment, where scrolls lay scattered across the floor in chaotic constellations. The frustrated genin sat cross-legged in the center of the chaos, running his finger over a passage in his mother's scroll for the dozenth time. The elegant handwriting seemed to taunt him. The chains manifest not from aggression but from the deepest desire to protect. Find what matters most. The rest will follow. What matters most, Naruto murmured, glancing at the photograph of Team 7 on his bedside table. Sakura's smile, Sasuke's scowl, Kakashi's lazy stance, and himself, grinning like an idiot in the center. Beyond them, the faces that had filled his lonely existence. Iruka-sensei, the third, even cranky old Tuchi at Ichiraku, those who matter. A thought crystallized, so simple he almost laughed. He'd been approaching this all wrong, focusing on the technique instead of the purpose. Naruto closed his eyes, letting the faces of those precious to him fill his mind, not as abstract concepts, but as vivid memories. Iruka shielding him from Izuki's attack, the third Hokage's gentle hand on his shoulder after a schoolyard fight, Sakura's determined eyes during their first real mission, Sasuke's back as he stepped in front of certain death in the land of waves. I want to protect them. All of them. Something warm unfurled in his chest, different from the burning of the Nine-Tails chakra, gentler, steadier, like sunlight through leaves. He followed that feeling, letting it flow through his pathways without forcing or directing it. Golden light spilled from beneath his closed eyelids, casting long shadows across his apartment walls. When Naruto opened his eyes, he gasped. From his outstretched palms, two perfect chains extended, hovering a foot above the floor, links gleaming in the lamplight. I did it, he whispered, afraid the slightest movement might break his concentration. The chains swayed slightly with his breathing, responding to the rhythm of his heart. They felt like extensions of himself, not weapons, but limbs he was only now discovering. As quickly as they appeared, the chains dissipated, leaving Naruto alone in his apartment once more, but the memory of success burned bright. Sleep could wait. He had work to do, again. Ebisu's voice cut through the morning haze, sharp as a kunai. Naruto stood at the center of Training Ground 3, brow furrowed in concentration. 3 days had passed since his breakthrough, and while he could now summon chains at will, maintaining them remained challenging. Focus on the anchor points, Ebisu instructed, circling him with critical eyes. Your shoulders, spine, and core. Feel how the chains connect to your chakra network. Naruto closed his eyes, recalling the faces of those precious to him. The warmth bloomed in his chest, flowing outward through pathways that were becoming more familiar with each attempt. Golden light erupted from his back, chains spiraling upward before arcing gracefully over his head. Hold it, Ebisu urged. Direct them with intent, not just emotion. Sweat beaded on Naruto's forehead as he visualized the target, a training post 20 feet away. The chains responded, shooting forward with startling speed to wrap around the wooden post. Good. Ebisu actually sounded impressed. Now, test their strength. Pull. Gritting his teeth, Naruto planted his feet and pulled. The chains went taut, wood creaking under the pressure. For a moment, nothing happened, then the post ripped from the ground with explosive force, sailing through the air toward him. Crap! Naruto yelped, diving sideways. The chains dissolved as his concentration broke, and the post crashed to earth where he'd been standing seconds before. Ebisu adjusted his sunglasses. Stronger than anticipated. Did you see that? Naruto bounced to his feet, eyes wide with excitement. I totally pulled it right out of the ground, indeed. Your raw power is impressive. Ebisu marked something in the notebook he carried. But power without control is merely destructive. Again, this time focus on precision. For the next 2 hours, Naruto practiced manifesting chains of different lengths and thicknesses. Some emerged thin as wire, sharp enough to slice through leaves blown on the wind. Others formed thick as his arm, heavy links crashing to earth with enough force to crater the soil. The chains respond to your intentions, Ebisu explained, observing a particularly impressive demonstration where Naruto created a lattice-like web between 2 trees. Their properties change based on what you need them to accomplish, so if I need to catch something without hurting it. Naruto concentrated, and the chains reconfigured into a net-like structure, links softening, edges dulling. Precisely. Ebisu nodded approval. The versatility is what made your mother's technique so formidable. Defense, offense, capture, barrier creation, all from a single fundamental ability. A shadow fell across the training ground. Naruto looked up to find Kakashi perched in a nearby tree, observing silently. Kakashi-sensei. Naruto waved excitedly. Check this out. He thrust both hands forward, chakra surging. Chains erupted from his palms, spiraling dramatically before forming the Konoha leaf symbol in midair. The display held for 3 seconds before the chains wavered and dissolved. Impressive, Kakashi drawled, dropping to the ground. Flashy, but impressive. Uzumaki-san has made remarkable progress, Ebisu reported, professionalism momentarily overriding his usual pomposity. His unconventional chakra system actually seems advantageous for this technique once properly channeled. I can see that. Kakashi's visible eyes studied Naruto with unusual intensity. Ready for the next stage? Naruto's grin threatened to split his face. Believe it! Sunset painted Konoha in amber and gold as Naruto followed Kakashi to a secluded clearing deep in the training grounds. Trees surrounded them on all sides, their trunks scarred with the evidence of countless training sessions past. What you've learned so far is foundation work, Kakashi explained, leaning against the tree. The real test is combat application. Naruto cracked his knuckles. You gonna fight me, Kakashi-sensei? Not exactly. Kakashi performed a series of hand signs, pressed his palm to the ground. Summoning jutsu, smoke billowed, clearing to reveal 8 Niken of various sizes and breeds, all wearing the same blue vests. Your assignment is simple, Kakashi said, his casual tone belied by the gleam in his eye. They're going to attack. You're going to defend and counter using only your chains. No shadow clones, no standard taijutsu. The Niken growled in unison, hackles raised. Wait, what? Right now? But I barely. Begin! Kakashi called, stepping back. The Niken launched forward in perfect coordination, a furry avalanche of teeth and claws. Naruto yelped, instinctively throwing up his arms as golden chains burst from his shoulders and back, forming a protective cage around him. Teeth clanged against metal as the dogs collided with his defense. Don't just defend! Kakashi called. Adapt. Move. The chains are extensions of yourself. Hard hammering, Naruto focused on the flow of chakra, willing the chains to shift. They responded, reconfiguring to create openings just large enough for him to peer through. The Niken circled, looking for weaknesses. Pakken, the smallest dog, darted forward, slipping through a gap in the chains. Naruto panicked, a new chain erupting from his palm to snatch the pug midair. Pakken dangled from the chain's grip, looking supremely unimpressed. Not bad, kid, the dog drawled. But you're surrounded. Lesson 2, Kakashi called. Chains can extend your reach, but they also extend your awareness. Feel through them. Naruto closed his eyes, concentrating on the chains themselves. Strangely, he could sense pressure against them where the dogs circled, could feel the subtle shifts in air currents through the golden links. Moving instinctively, he expanded his chain barrier outward in a sudden explosion, forcing the Niken back. As they scattered, he lashed out with 4 new chains, each tracking a different target. 2 missed, but the others wrapped around furry bodies, lifting the struggling dogs into the air. Better! Kakashi called. But watch your blind spots. Too late. Something heavy crashed into Naruto from behind. Bull, the largest Niken, had circled around and charged through a gap in his defense. Naruto went sprawling, chains dissolving as his concentration broke. Instantly, he was buried beneath a pile of triumphant Niken, cold noses and rough tongues assaulting his face. Okay. He sputtered through dog breath and fur. You got me! Kakashi's face appeared above the pile, visible eye curved in amusement. Not bad for a first attempt. The chains respond well to your instincts. But you're still thinking too much. The Niken retreated at Kakashi's signal, allowing Naruto to sit up, brushing fur from his jacket. What do you mean? You're hesitating, calculating each movement. Kakashi crouched beside him. The chains should flow from intention to action without that middle step. Like breathing. Naruto nodded slowly, understanding dawning. Like when I first made them appear. I wasn't thinking about the technique, just about protecting. Exactly. Naruto climbed to his feet, determination settling over his features. Let me try again. Tomorrow, Kakashi said firmly. You've drained your chakra enough for one day. Rest, recover, reflect. For once, Naruto didn't argue. The constant practice had left him bone-tired, muscles aching in ways he'd never experienced before. This wasn't the crude exhaustion of physical training, but something deeper. His chakra network itself felt stretched and tender. One more thing. Kakashi's voice stopped him as he turned to leave. Show me the longest, strongest chain you can make and hold right now. Naruto frowned but complied. Focusing intently, he channeled chakra to his right arm. Golden light coalesced, forming a single chain that extended from his palm. Each link was the size of his fist, gleaming in the fading light. The chain stretched across the clearing, 20 feet, 30, 40, until it wavered at nearly 50 feet in length. Hold it, Kakashi instructed, walking its length. Sweat beaded on Naruto's forehead, but he maintained his concentration, keeping the chain solid and tangible. Kakashi examined it, even rapped his knuckles against several links, testing their solidity. 3 minutes, he finally announced as the chain began to shimmer, Naruto's control faltering. Not bad. The chain dissolved, golden particles floating away on the evening breeze. Naruto exhaled heavily, arms trembling slightly from the sustained effort. My mom could maintain hers for hours, he said, unable to keep the disappointment from his voice. Your mother had years of practice, Kakashi reminded him. You've had days. Even by your standards, that's remarkable progress. A small, genuine smile broke across Naruto's face. Yeah. Kakashi's hand settled briefly on his shoulder. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start the real work. As they walked back toward the village, Naruto glanced at his hands in the gathering twilight. Golden specks of chakra still clung to his fingertips, tiny reminders of the power he was learning to control. 1 chain. 3 minutes. It wasn't much yet, but it was a beginning. In the deepening shadows of the forest behind them, a pair of crimson eyes narrowed thoughtfully, watching their departure before vanishing silently into the darkness. Rain hammered the Hokage tower, drumming against the windows like impatient fingers. Lightning split the sky, briefly illuminating the 4 figures standing before the third's desk. Thunder followed, rumbling through the floorboards as if the very building were growling. An escort mission? Naruto couldn't keep the excitement from his voice, practically vibrating in place. Finally! Something better than chasing cats and pulling weeds. The third Hokage raised an eyebrow, pipe smoke curling around his weathered face. This isn't a C-rank mission, Naruto. We're dealing with a B-rank assignment. Kakashi, who had been slouching against the wall, straightened slightly. B-rank? For a genin team? You're not just any genin team. The third pushed a scroll across his desk. And our client specifically requested Team 7. Sasuke's eyes narrowed, suspicion etched across his face. Who's the client? The door behind them slid open with a soft hiss. That would be me. All 4 heads turned to find a slender woman standing in the doorway, water dripping from her dark blue traveling cloak. She pushed back her hood, revealing a face that might have been beautiful once. Now it was all sharp angles and watchful eyes, framed by raven black hair streaked with premature silver. Yakaina Asahi, she introduced herself with a bow that was barely more than a nod. Weapons specialist and supplier to the Hidden Leaf. Yukina-san has been on a procurement mission to the Land of Iron, the third explained. She's acquired certain sensitive materials that need to be transported to our RD division. Chakra conductive metals, Yakaina clarified, her voice clipped and efficient. Rare alloys. Extremely valuable. Extremely coveted by our competitors, Sakura frowned. If the materials are that valuable, why not send Jonin? Most available Jonin are deployed elsewhere, the third said, exchanging a meaningful glance with Kakashi. And Yukina-san specifically requested Kakashi Hataki's team. I heard about your mission to the Land of Waves, Yakaina said, her sharp eyes assessing each of them in turn, lingering on Naruto. A genin team that can handle Zabuza Momochi and live to tell about it is exactly what I need. Strength draws attention, but you'll be underestimated, Sasuke grunted, something like approval flashing across his face. We leave at dawn, Kakashi decided, taking the mission scroll. Pack for a 5-day round trip. Standard formation, height and alert. Naruto pumped his fist in the air. Alright. A real mission. With real bad guys. Lightning flashed again, casting Yukina's face in stark relief. Careful what you wish for, kid. Mist clung to the forest floor like reluctant ghosts, swirling around Team 7's ankles as they moved through the pines. 3 days into their journey, they'd left Fire Country behind, entering the neutral buffer territory between nations. The sky hung low and gray, threatening more rain but never quite delivering. Naruto stifled a yawn, rolling his shoulders to ease the stiffness. They'd been moving since before sunrise, maintaining a brisk pace that even his boundless energy was starting to feel. At the head of their formation, Yakaina moved with the fluid grace of someone accustomed to hard travel, seemingly tireless despite the heavy pack she carried. This is boring, he muttered to Sakura, who walked beside him. I thought B-rank missions would have more action. Quiet, idiot, she hissed, though without her usual bite. You'll jinx us. Behind them, Sasuke snorted. Only you would complain about a mission going smoothly. I'm just saying. Kakashi's hand shot up, halting the column. Instantly, all conversation died, replaced by the hyper-awareness of Shinobi sensing danger. Naruto's hand drifted to his kunai pouch, eyes scanning the misty forest. What is it, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura whispered, her voice barely audible. Kakashi didn't answer immediately. His uncovered eye narrowed as he surveyed their surroundings. Nearby, Yakaina had slipped her pack off, hands hovering near the twin short swords at her hips. "We're being watched," Kakashi finally said, voice pitched low. "Have been for the last mile or so." Naruto focused, extending his senses as he'd been taught. Nothing seemed out of place, just trees, mist, and the occasional rustle of windblown leaves. But then again, the most dangerous predators were the ones you never saw coming. "Keep moving," Kakashi ordered. Titan formation. Yukina-san in the center. They resumed their journey, tension crackling between them like static electricity. Naruto found himself checking and rechecking his surroundings, muscles coiled tight as springs. His fingers itched to form shadow clones, to flood the forest with duplicates and flush out whoever was stalking them. "Don't," Sasuke murmured, as if reading his thoughts. "We don't know how many there are. Better to keep our techniques hidden until necessary." Naruto blinked, surprised by the tactical advice. "Since when are you the cautious one?" A ghost of a smirk crossed Sasuke's face. "Since you became even more reckless than usual." The first attack came without warning, a whispering sound of displaced air that Naruto almost missed. Kunai sliced through the mist from multiple directions, a deadly rain converging on their position. "Scatter!" Kakashi barked. Team 7 exploded into motion. Naruto dove left, Sasuke right, each dragging Yakaina in opposite directions before realizing their mistake. The weapons specialist twisted free of both their grips, drawing her swords in a single fluid motion. "I don't need babysitting," she snapped, deflecting a kunai with almost casual precision. More weapons sliced through the mist. Too many, too coordinated for a single attacker. Naruto caught glimpses of movement between the trees, shadowy figures darting through the fog like phantoms. "4, no, 5 of them," Sasuke called, Sharingan activated, Tomo spinning. "Circling our position." "Missing mean," Kakashi confirmed, appearing at Yukina's side. "Chunin level from their chakra signatures. Probably hired to intercept the shipment." "Formation 3, he ordered. Naruto, Sasuke, perimeter. Sakura, stay with Yukina-san." Naruto nodded, summoning a dozen shadow clones that burst into existence with puffs of smoke. "Fan out," he commanded, sending his duplicates charging into the mist, drawing enemy fire. The attackers took the bait. Figures emerged from the fog, shinobi in mismatched gear, faces covered by masks decorated with jagged red slashes. They moved with the fluid coordination of experienced fighters, immediately targeting the clones they recognized as duplicates. Trying to identify the real one, Sasuke muttered, hands already forming seals. "Fire style. Phoenix flower jutsu." Fireballs bloomed in the mist, illuminating the battlefield in stark orange light. 3 attackers dodged, but a 4th took a direct hit, clothes igniting as he rolled to extinguish the flames. Naruto pressed the advantage, launching himself at the nearest opponent, a kunoichi wielding a 3-pronged spear. She whirled to meet him, weapon blurring as she countered his kunai strike. "Leaf genin," she spat, voice muffled by her mask. "They sent children to guard the shipment? Disappointed?" Naruto grinned, dropping low to sweep her legs. She jumped his attack, spear stabbing downward. Naruto rolled, narrowly avoiding the deadly point as it sank 2 inches into the forest floor where his chest had been a heartbeat before. Across the clearing, Sasuke engaged 2 attackers simultaneously, Sharingan predicting their movements as he wove between their attacks. Kakashi had vanished, a bad sign for their opponents, who hadn't yet realized the silver-haired Jonin was picking them off one by one from the shadows. Sakura stood protectively before Yakaina, kunai in a white-knuckled grip as she scanned for threats. The weapons specialist herself seemed almost bored, swords held in a loose guard position. "Just stay behind me, Yukina-san," Sakura assured her, voice steadier than her hands. "How adorable," Yakaina murmured, though whether she meant Sakura's protection or the attacker's attempt was unclear. The battle escalated quickly. More enemies emerged from the mist, 7, then 9, more than they'd initially sensed. Naruto found himself facing 2 opponents, trading blows at a speed that would have been impossible for him months ago. Training with the chains had improved his overall reflexes, his body moving almost instinctively to counter each strike. "Something's wrong," Sasuke called, ducking a sword swing that would have separated his head from his shoulders. "They're hurting us." Naruto realized he was right. Each attack pushed them subtly into a tighter formation, backing them against a large outcropping of rock. Classic ambush tactics. They were being funneled. "Kakashi-sensei!" he shouted, hoping their instructor could hear him through the chaos. A pained grunt answered from somewhere in the mist. Kakashi engaged with enemies of his own. One of Naruto's attackers broke away suddenly, charging toward the center of their formation where Sakura guarded Yakaina. The pink-haired kunoichi set her stance, determination flashing across her face as she prepared to defend their client. Time seemed to slow as Naruto watched the masked shinobi's hands form seals. Earth style. His subconscious registered something powerful building in the enemy's chakra. Sakura wouldn't be able to counter it, might not even survive it. Sakura! Naruto screamed, abandoning his own fight, knowing he'd never reach her in time. The earth beneath Sakura's feet erupted, stone spikes shooting upward as the ground itself became a weapon. She tried to leap away, but a secondary explosion caught her mid-jump, sending her tumbling through the air with a cry of pain. Something snapped inside Naruto, not the familiar burn of the Nine-Tails chakra, but the cooler, steadier power he'd been cultivating. Golden light exploded from his body as he thrust both hands forward, a wordless cry tearing from his throat. Chains, a dozen of them, more than he'd ever manifested at once, shot from his outstretched palms, golden links blurring as they crossed the clearing faster than thought. They caught Sakura mid-fall, wrapping around her body in a protective cocoon while simultaneously forming a barrier between her and the attacker. The masked shinobi froze, clearly startled by the unexpected technique. What the? Naruto didn't give him time to finish. With a shout of effort, he directed another chain to strike, the links whipping forward like a golden serpent. It caught the attacker across the chest, the impact sending him flying backward to crash through a tree trunk. Naruto? Sakura gasped, suspended safely within his chain's embrace. He couldn't spare the breath to answer, too focused on maintaining the multiple chains while navigating the battlefield. The golden links responded to his will with newfound fluidity, lowering Sakura gently to the ground before reconfiguring into a defensive perimeter around her and Yukaina. The weapons specialist stared at the chains with unconcealed shock. Uzumaki, she breathed, the name both revelation and understanding. The tide of battle shifted instantly. The chains extended Naruto's reach across the entire clearing, allowing him to engage multiple opponents simultaneously. When one attacker tried to flank Sasuke, a chain lashed out, catching his ankle and yanking him off his feet. Another tried to retreat into the mist, only to find golden links wrapping around his torso, crushing the breath from his lungs. The blonde brat has some kind of Kekkai Genkai. One of the masked shinobi shouted, panic evident in his voice. Fall back. This wasn't in the briefing. 3 attackers broke away, fleeing into the forest. Naruto sent chains after them, but they dissolved halfway to their targets, his concentration splintering under the strain of maintaining so many simultaneously. Let them go. Kakashi's voice came from behind him, steady and reassuring. Focus on securing the ones we have. Naruto nodded, sweat beading on his forehead as he directed his remaining chains to bind the unconscious or subdued attackers. His breath came in ragged gasps, each beat of his heart sending exhaustion pulsing through his limbs. As the mist began to clear, revealing the aftermath of their battle, Naruto finally allowed the chains to dissolve. Golden particles drifted away on the breeze as he dropped to one knee, suddenly lightheaded. Naruto! Sakura was at his side in an instant, concern etched across her face. Are you okay? Yeah, he managed, offering a weak grin. Just tired. Sasuke approached more slowly, his expression unreadable save for the intensity in his dark eyes. Since when can you do that? He demanded, gesturing to where the chains had been. Been practicing, Naruto panted, trying for nonchalance despite his trembling limbs. Those were the adamantine sealing chains, Yukaina stated, crouching to examine one of the bound attackers. And Uzumaki clan technique, thought to be lost with the fall of Uzushiobikure. Sakura's eyes widened. Uzumaki clan? You mean, it's why I requested this team, Yukaina cut her off, fixing Naruto with a calculating stare. Rumors reached the land of iron about a blonde genin with the Nine-Tails and Uzumaki blood. I needed to see for myself. You knew? Kakashi's voice held a dangerous edge. Yukaina shrugged, unrepentant. Suspected. The materials I'm carrying, they're particularly suited for channeling the type of chakra Uzumaki were known for. She nodded toward Naruto. His chains just proved their value tenfold. Naruto struggled to his feet, legs wobbly as newborn fawns. So you used us as bait? To test the theory? I used the strategic asset appropriately, she corrected, unmoved by his accusation. And it worked. My shipment is safe. And now I know exactly who should be using the alloys I've acquired. Kakashi stepped between them, his single visible eye hard as flint. We'll discuss your methods later, Yukina-san. For now, we need to secure the prisoners and make camp. It'll be dark soon. Firelight danced across Team 7's faces as they huddled around the small blaze, their camp nestled in a defensive position against the rock outcropping. Yukaina sat apart, methodically cleaning her swords while keeping watch on their 5 bound prisoners. Naruto nursed a cup of instant ramen, his third since they'd made camp. The familiar comfort food helped restore some of his depleted energy, though a bone-deep fatigue still weighed on him. How long have you been able to use those chains? Sasuke finally asked, breaking the silence that had stretched between them. Naruto glanced at Kakashi, who nodded slightly. Permission to share. About 3 weeks, he admitted. Found out there's something I inherited from my mother. Sakura's eyes widened. Your mother? But you never talk about your parents. I didn't know anything about them until recently, Naruto said, surprising himself with how steady his voice remained. The chains just appeared during training one day. Turns out they're an Uzumaki clan ability. They're incredible, Sakura said softly. The way they caught me. I've never seen anything like it. Sasuke stared into the fire, flames reflecting in his dark eyes. Is that what you've been doing on your own? Training with those chains? Naruto nodded. A complex emotion flickered across Sasuke's face. Surprise, respect, and something harder to define, before his expression settled back into its usual impassive mask. They're versatile, he acknowledged. Both defense and offense. Mid-range attacks that can't be easily countered. The simple assessment from Sasuke felt like high praise. Naruto grinned, some of his usual bravado returning. Yeah, pretty cool, right? I'm still figuring out everything they can do, but they almost wore you out completely, Kakashi interrupted, his tone mild but pointed. After using them for less than 5 minutes, Naruto deflated slightly. Yeah, they drain a lot of chakra. Most techniques with that level of power do, Kakashi observed. Even with your reserves, maintaining multiple chains at that strength has obvious limitations. I just need to train more, Naruto insisted. Build up my endurance. Kakashi's visible eye crinkled in what might have been a smile. Of course. But in the meantime, you need to be strategic about when and how you deploy them. From her position at the edge of the camp, Yakaina spoke up. The chakra drain is expected. Uzumaki chains are notoriously demanding. Her eyes reflected the firelight, giving them an almost predatory gleam. But the potential is significant. What do you know about the Uzumaki? Naruto asked, unable to hide his eagerness for any scrap of information about his clan. Yukina's sharp features softened marginally. Only what most weapons specialists know. They were seal masters without equal. Their techniques could bind tailed beasts and create barriers that entire armies couldn't breach. She nodded toward the prisoners. The fact that you manifested the chains at your age, with enough control to selectively capture and restrain, it's impressive. Naruto's chest swelled with pride, but Kakashi's hand on his shoulder tempered his reaction. Get some rest, his sensei advised. You pushed yourself hard today. I'll take first watch. As Team 7 prepared for sleep, arranging their bedrolls around the fire, Naruto found himself staring at his hands in the flickering light. The chains had come more easily today than ever before, not from hours of practice or concentration, but from the desperate need to protect Sakura. The chains manifest not from aggression but from the deepest desire to protect. His mother's words, written in the scroll, finally made complete sense. The power wasn't about fighting or defeating enemies. It was about safeguarding what mattered. Across the camp, Sasuke caught his eye, expression thoughtful. Something had shifted between them today, not quite understanding, not quite acceptance, but a new awareness. Naruto had revealed the power that changed the dynamic of their team, and Sasuke was still calculating what that meant. As Naruto finally drifted towards sleep, exhaustion claiming him, he realized his fighting style had fundamentally transformed. No longer just the unpredictable close-range fighter charging headlong into battle, he now possessed the ability to control the field itself, to reach across space and reshape it according to his will. The chains were more than just a technique. They were a connection, to his mother, to his lost clan, and to a new way of fighting that might someday help him protect everyone precious to him. If only they didn't leave him feeling like he'd run 1,000 laps around Konoha afterward. The waterfall thundered against ancient stone, mist rising in ghostly plumes that danced in early morning light. Seated cross-legged on a flat rock at the water's edge, Naruto breathed deeply, struggling to maintain the meditation pose Kakashi had insisted was crucial to his training. His muscles twitched with the desire to move, to leap, to do anything but sit still in the clammy dawn air. Focus, Kakashi murmured from somewhere behind him. Your chains drain chakra because you're forcing them. Learn to let them flow naturally. I'm trying, Naruto grumbled, shoulders hunching with frustration. But I can't focus with you hovering like that. A week had passed since their return from the escort mission. 7 days of intensive training, pushing the limits of Naruto's control over the adamantine chains. Progress came in stuttering increments. A chain held for 10 minutes instead of 3. 4 chains manifested simultaneously instead of 2. Not enough. Never enough. Your mind is scattered, Kakashi observed, his voice cutting through the waterfall's roar with irritating precision. The chains respond to intention, not frustration. Empty your mind. Feel the flow of chakra through your system. Naruto stifled a retort, knowing his sensei was right. Closing his eyes, he drew a slow breath, imagining his lungs filling with the mist-laden air. Warmth spread through his chest as he exhaled, tracing the golden threads of energy that now seemed permanently woven through his chakra network. Empty your mind. Just breathe. The waterfall's thunder receded, becoming a distant rhythm matching his heartbeat. His awareness turned inward, following the familiar pathways where chakra flowed like rivers beneath his skin. The golden current of his maternal legacy pulsed stronger with each passing day, a steady counterpoint to his own wild, wind-natured energy. Deeper. Quieter. The external world faded as Naruto's consciousness drifted through his internal landscape. That's when he felt it, a different current. Dark, powerful, malevolent. Something he usually avoided, instinctively skirting its borders during his meditative explorations. But today, drawn by the golden flow of his Uzumaki chakra, Naruto's awareness drifted closer to that crimson boundary. The sensation changed, a pulling, like being caught in a riptide. Naruto's breath caught in his throat as his consciousness plunged into darkness. Drip. 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 Water splashed beneath Naruto's feet as his eyes snapped open. Gone was the sunlit waterfall, replaced by cavernous corridors stretching into shadow. Rust-colored pipes snaked along the ceiling, pulsing with angry light. The air hung thick and stale, tasting of metal and ancient hatred. What the hell? Naruto spun in place, heart hammering against his ribs. Where am I? The corridor stretched before him, illuminated by an eerie glow emanating from somewhere ahead. Water sloshed around his ankles as he moved cautiously forward, drawn by a magnetic pull he couldn't explain or resist. The passageway opened into a vast chamber. Naruto froze at its threshold, breath catching in his throat. Before him loomed an immense gate, its bars thick as tree trunks, stretching up into darkness beyond his sight. A paper seal held the massive doors together, the kanji for seal stark against its yellowed surface. Behind those bars, darkness shifted. Two crimson eyes snapped open, each larger than Naruto himself, pupils slitted like a predator's. Hot breath carrying the scent of fire and fury gusted through the bars, ruffling Naruto's hair. So the jailer finally visits his prisoner. The voice reverberated through the chamber, each syllable dripping with ancient malice. Come closer, little Uzumaki. Let me get a better look at you. A massive form materialized behind the bars. A fox of impossible size, fur the color of spilled blood, 9 tails sweeping through the shadows. The 9 tails. Naruto's legs trembled, but he forced himself forward until he stood 20 feet from the gate. This is inside me? You're inside me? A rumbling laugh shook the chamber, water rippling outward in concentric circles. Your ignorance is astounding. Yes, child. This is where your precious fourth Hokage imprisoned me 13 years ago. At the cost of his life, and the happiness of yours. The enormity of it hit Naruto like a physical blow. This was the source of the village's hatred, the reason for his isolation. Not a distant concept or an abstract burden, but a living, thinking entity of immense power, watching him with eyes that burned with resentment. Why am I here now? Naruto demanded, voice steadier than he felt. I didn't try to come here. The fox's massive muzzle pressed against the bars, teeth gleaming like ivory daggers. Your chains led you here. That accursed Uzumaki power running through your veins, it resonates with the seal. My chains? Instinctively, Naruto focused, drawing on the golden chakra that had become so familiar. Light bloomed around his hands, coalescing into glowing links. The reaction was instantaneous. The 9 tails recoiled with a roar that shook the very foundations of the mindscape, tails lashing against the back wall of its prison. Put those away! The ferocity of the response startled Naruto, the chains dissolving as his concentration broke. What's your problem? They're just the instruments of my torment. The fox snarled, hackles raised, red chakra boiling around its form. Those chains, your mother's chains, they bound me before you were born, held me immobile while I was sealed within her, and then within you. Images flooded Naruto's mind, not his memories, but something else. A fiery-haired woman standing atop a massive fox, golden chains erupting from her back to bind the thrashing beast. Her face contorted with effort, determination blazing in eyes that matched his own. My mother. Naruto whispered, the vision so vivid he could almost reach out and touch her. Kushina Uzumaki. The 9 tails spat the name like venom. My jailer before you. Her chains were unbreakable, her will indomitable. She imprisoned me for decades until that masked man released me on the night of your birth. A single massive claw inched through the space between the bars, stopping inches from Naruto's face. And now you manifest the same power. How nostalgic. Naruto stood his ground, processing this revelation. So these chains, they can control you. The fox's eyes narrowed to crimson slits. They can suppress my chakra, yes. Bind my power. Your mother used them to cage me completely within her mind, a prison within a prison. For a moment, just a heartbeat, Naruto glimpsed possibilities. Control over the power that had cursed his existence. A way to bend the Nine Tails to his will. The chains could make him stronger, could force this entity to serve him rather than threaten him. As if sensing his thoughts, the fox growled, low and dangerous. Careful, boy. Your thirst for power shows in your eyes. Just like all the others who sought to use me as a weapon. The accusation stung more than Naruto expected. That's not, don't lie to yourself, the fox cut him off. It's written across your face. The temptation to dominate what you fear. Naruto's hands clenched into fists at his sides. What I fear is hurting my friends. What I fear is losing control when I use your chakra. If these chains can prevent that, they can, the Nine Tails interrupted, surprising Naruto into silence. Your mother's chains regulated my chakra within her system. They could, theoretically, do the same for you. The massive creature settled onto its haunches, tails swaying hypnotically behind it. But there's a price to such control. The chains tax your own strength considerably, and forcing my compliance would create a relationship of constant struggle. My power fighting yours with every heartbeat. Naruto frowned, considering. What's the alternative? A slow, terrible smile spread across the fox's muzzle, revealing teeth larger than Naruto himself. That, little Uzumaki, is the interesting question. Before Naruto could respond, the mindscape shuddered violently. The water at his feet rippled, walls trembling as if caught in an earthquake. It seems our time is up, the Nine Tails observed, settling back into the shadows. Someone is trying very hard to wake you. How inconvenient. Wait! Naruto called, stepping closer to the gate. I still have questions. The fox's eyes gleamed in the darkness. We will speak again, Naruto Uzumaki. Count on it. The chamber dissolved around him, darkness rushing in like an incoming tide. Naruto! Snap out of it. Kakashi's voice cut through the void, sharp with concern. Naruto gasped, eyes flying open as he lurched forward. The forest waterfall materialized around him, sunlight now slanting through the trees at a late afternoon angle. How long had he been gone? What happened? He rasped, throat strangely dry. Kakashi crouched before him, Sharingan uncovered, studying him with unusual intensity. You tell me. You've been unresponsive for over an hour. Your chakra signature changed. Naruto shuddered, the memory of those massive red eyes still burning in his mind. I saw it. The Nine Tails. We talked. Alarm flashed across Kakashi's visible features. The seal is fine, Naruto assured him quickly. I just ended up in this weird place inside my mind. There was this huge gate with the seal on it, and the fox was behind it. Kakashi's posture relaxed marginally, though the concern didn't leave his eye. What did it want? It didn't want anything. I think. Naruto hesitated, organizing his thoughts. I think my chains led me there. The Nine Tails said they resonate with the seal. Understanding dawned in Kakashi's expression. Of course. The adamantine chains were part of how your mother contained the Nine Tails. They're connected to your seal at a fundamental level. It knew my mother, Naruto continued, words tumbling out. It was sealed inside her before me. And it hates the chains, said she used them to bind it completely? Kakashi sat back on his heels, clearly processing this information. This complicates things. But it could be good, right? Naruto leaned forward eagerly. If the chains can control the Nine Tails chakra, maybe I can use its power without, losing control like before. Possibly. Kakashi's tone carried a warning. But tampering with the seal, even indirectly, is dangerous territory, Naruto. The fourth designed it with specific parameters. Naruto climbed to his feet, surprising energy coursing through him despite the mental exhaustion. Let me try something. Before Kakashi could object, Naruto formed the hand sign he'd been practicing all week, the one that helped him focus his Uzumaki chakra. Golden light bloomed around his hands, chains materializing with fluid grace to hover in the air before him. Now watch this, he said, concentrating on the memory of the Nine Tails chakra, that hot, angry current he'd always sensed beneath his own. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Red chakra erupted around Naruto's form. bubbling up like boiling blood to envelope him in a crimson shroud. His canine teeth lengthened, nails sharpening into claws as feral energy flooded his system. "Naruto, stop!" Kakashi shouted, leaping back, hands already forming seals. But something unexpected happened. The golden chains hovering around Naruto pulsed with light, then coiled around his body of their own accord. Where they touched the red chakra, it sizzled and receded, like water dropped onto a hot pan. Naruto stared in wonder as the chains regulated the flow, not suppressing the Nine-Tails' power completely, but channeling it, refining it into something he could control. The destructive rage that normally accompanied this state was muted, his mind remaining clear despite the power surging through him. "It's working!" he exclaimed, voice deeper and rougher but still his own. "I can think clearly." The chains are. The balance shattered like glass. Too much power, too quickly drawn, overwhelmed the chain's regulatory function. Red chakra exploded outward, snapping the golden links as if they were threads. A roar tore from Naruto's throat, not his voice, but the Nine-Tails, as the crimson shroud formed a distinct fox shape around him. Trees splintered as Naruto's body moved with inhuman speed, clawed hands tearing gouges in the earth. His consciousness receded, pushed aside by ancient rage and the primal joy of freedom. Through a red haze, he saw Kakashi racing through hand signs, prepared to subdue him by force if necessary. The part of him that was still Naruto screamed in silent horror, watching his body turn toward his sensei with predatory intent. Then, suddenly, impact. Something massive struck him from behind, a complex seal slapping against his forehead. The red chakra sizzled, then retracted with shocking speed, sucked back into the seal on his stomach. Naruto collapsed, muscles twitching with the aftershocks of so much power. "Well, that was exciting," drawled a deep, unfamiliar voice. "Always did have a flair for dramatic entrances, didn't you, kid?" Naruto rolled onto his back, vision swimming into focus to find a large man with wild white hair and red facial markings looming over him. A brass headplate with the kanji for oil glinted in the late afternoon sun. "Who?" Naruto managed, his throat raw as if he'd been screaming. "Jiraiya of the Sannin, at your service." The man grinned, offering a hand to help him up. "Toad Sage, super pervert, best-selling author, and seal master extraordinaire, and apparently, your timely salvation." Kakashi approached cautiously, visible eye conveying both relief and remaining concern. "Your timing is impeccable as always, Lord Jiraiya," felt the Nine-Tails chakra halfway across the village. Jiraiya's jovial expression sobered as he studied Naruto. "That was quite the light show, kid. Want to tell me what you were trying to accomplish?" Naruto stood shakily, taking stock of his body. Nothing seemed damaged, though his chakra pathways burned as if scrubbed with wire. "I was experimenting, Jiraiya repeated flatly. "With a tailed beast chakra." "Brilliant. The chains were working." Naruto protested. "For a minute, I had control. I could feel the Nine-Tails' power, but it wasn't controlling me." Understanding dawned in Jiraiya's eyes. "Chains? Wait, you don't mean the adamantine sealing chains? Kushina's technique?" Naruto nodded, extending his hand. With effort, a single golden chain materialized, hovering in the air between them. Jiraiya stared at it, astonishment written across his features. "Well, I'll be damned," he breathed, reaching out as if to touch the chain before thinking better of it. "How long have you been able to do this?" "Few weeks," Naruto answered, letting the chain dissolve as fatigue washed over him. "Been training with Kakashi-sensei." Jiraiya shot Kakashi a look that contained volumes of unspoken communication. "And today you thought you'd see how they interact with the Nine-Tails, without consulting anyone with actual expertise in sealing techniques." Fantastic. Despite the sarcasm, there was no real anger in Jiraiya's tone, more a resigned acceptance of reckless youth. He sighed heavily, placing a massive hand on Naruto's shoulder. "You got lucky, kid." The seal held barely. "But you're playing with forces that could level the village if they got loose." His expression softened marginally. "That said, your instinct wasn't entirely wrong." Naruto perked up. "It wasn't? The adamantine chains do have a special relationship with the Nine-Tails seal. Kushina used them to help control its power within her." Jiraiya glanced at the setting sun. "But this isn't the place for that conversation." "Too open, too exposed." Kakashi nodded agreement. "The training ground at the base of the Hokage monument would be more secure." "Tomorrow," Jiraiya decided, studying Naruto with newfound interest. "The kid needs rest. His chakra network has taken a beating today." As if to confirm this assessment, Naruto's knees suddenly buckled. Kakashi caught him before he hit the ground, steadying him with a firm grip. "I'm fine," Naruto protested weakly. Just a little tired. Chakra exhaustion, Jiraiya diagnosed, not unkindly. Your system was running both your chains and the Ninetales power simultaneously. Even with your reserves, that's asking a lot. Despite his fatigue, Naruto couldn't contain his curiosity. So, you knew my mother? Something flickered in Jiraiya's eyes, an old grief, quickly masked. I did. Knew your father better, but Kushina, she was something special, fiery as her hair and twice as dangerous when riled. Can you tell me about her? The question emerged small and vulnerable, so unlike Naruto's usual brash demeanor. Jiraiya exchanged another glance with Kakashi. Some stories are better told after a good meal and a full night's rest. Tell you what, meet me at Ichiraka tomorrow at noon, I'll buy you lunch, and we'll talk about your mother's chains and how they relate to your furry little problem. Furry little? Naruto began, confused. It's a joke, kid, Jiraiya chuckled. A bad one, admittedly. Now go home and sleep before you faceplant in the river. As they made their way back toward the village, Naruto walking between Kakashi and Jiraiya, he couldn't help but feel that something significant had shifted. The Ninetales was no longer just an abstract burden he carried. It was a presence, an entity with memories and grudges that stretched back before his birth, and his mother's chains, his chains now, were somehow the key to understanding that relationship. Naruto glanced at Jiraiya's broad back as the older man walked ahead, gesturing animatedly as he spoke with Kakashi. Another link to his parents had appeared, someone who had known them personally. The universe seemed determined to unravel his past just as he was trying to forge his future. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. Darkness pressed against Naruto's skin like damp velvet, the canopy of ancient trees blotting out what little moonlight might have penetrated the forest of death. Sweat trickled down his spine, a single drop navigating the ridges of his vertebrae with maddening slowness. Beside him, Sakura crouched motionless, her breathing shallow and controlled. 10 feet ahead, Sasuke held point position, Sharingan activated as he scanned for threats through the impenetrable gloom. 3 days into the second stage of the Chunin exams, and Team 7 had encountered nothing but oversized insects and a brief, disappointing skirmish with the Rain Village team carrying the wrong scroll. Tension wound tight as piano wire between them, exhaustion and hypervigilance creating a dangerous cocktail. We need to move, Sasuke whispered, voice barely audible above the symphony of alien chittering that filled the forest night. 3 teams converging from the east. We're running out of territory to avoid confrontation. Naruto rolled his shoulders, working out the stiffness from hours of stillness. So let's stop avoiding it. We still need an Earth Scroll. Not those teams, Sasuke replied, eyes narrowing as he peered into the darkness. Something's hunting them. The word hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. Not competing. Hunting. Sakura's hand found Naruto's sleeve, fingers digging into the fabric. We should head west toward the tower. Circle around whatever's happening. For once, Naruto didn't argue. The forest had a way of recalibrating priorities. Winning mattered less when survival wasn't guaranteed. They moved like shadows, years of academy training crystallizing into fluid motion. 3 genin, synchronizing their movements through underbrush that would have snagged and announced civilians. 30 minutes of silent progress, the forest growing denser, more primeval with each step. Then Sasuke froze, one hand raised in the universal signal for immediate halt. A clearing lay ahead, moonlight spilling through a rare break in the canopy to illuminate a scene from Nightmare. 3 bodies sprawled across blood-darkened soil, limbs twisted at impossible angles. Standing over them, a slender figure with long black hair bent to retrieve a scroll from a lifeless hand. Earth Scroll, Sasuke breathed, his body tensing. The figure straightened, head tilting like a curious bird. My, came a voice like silk sliding over gravel. Little leaves, blown so far from Konoha's sturdy branches. The moonlight caught the stranger's face as they turned, skin unnaturally pale, eyes gleaming with vertical pupils, a smile that belonged on a predator rather than anything human. That's not a genin, Sakura whispered, horror threading through her voice. That's, run, Sasuke cut her off, body already moving. Now, they scattered like startled birds, instinct driving them in different directions before training reasserted itself. Naruto veered to parallel Sasuke's course, Sakura falling in behind them as they crashed through underbrush, abandoning stealth for speed. Laughter pursued them, curling through the trees like toxic mist. Such energetic prey. How delightful! The forest floor erupted 20 feet ahead, earth and vegetation blasted aside as their pursuer emerged from beneath the soil itself. Impossibly, the stranger had outpaced and intercepted them. Moonlight glinted off a grass village headband, the symbol marred by a deep scratch. Now then, the figure purred, tongue extending to inhuman length to lick pale lips. let's dispense with this tedious chase, shall we? Killing intent flooded the clearing. Not the amateur efforts Naruto had felt from other genin, but a crushing, suffocating pressure that froze his lungs and locked his joints. Images of his own death flashed through his mind, each more brutal than the last. Beside him, Sasuke made a strangled sound, dropping to one knee. As Sasuke, Naruto managed, his own voice sounding distant and unfamiliar. Who is this freak? The Uchiha didn't answer, his face a rictus of terror unlike anything Naruto had seen before. Sakura wasn't faring better, her complexion ashen in the moonlight. What an interesting group you are, their attacker mused, gaze settling on Sasuke with disturbing intensity. Particularly you, young Uchiha. Those eyes, I've been looking forward to meeting them. The stranger's hands formed seals faster than Naruto could track. Earth erupted again, massive serpents bursting from the ground on either side of Team 7, cutting off escape routes. I am Orochimaru, the figure announced, discarding pretense along with the face they'd been wearing, skin peeling away to reveal even paler features beneath. And you, Sasuke Uchiha, have something I want. Sasuke finally broke through his paralysis, hands flashing through seals. Fire style. Phoenix flower jutsu. Fireballs erupted from his mouth, illuminating the clearing in violent orange light. Orochimaru didn't even attempt to dodge, letting the flames wash over him with casual disregard. Pitiful, he remarked as the smoke cleared, completely unharmed. Is that the limit of Uchiha potential? How disappointing. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Naruto's voice cracked like thunder as dozens of clones materialized throughout the clearing, orange-clad figures launching themselves at their opponent from every direction. Orochimaru's smile widened to something grotesque. Ah, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Another interesting specimen. His movements blurred, clones bursting into smoke as he tore through them with contemptuous ease. Naruto felt each dispelling like a physical blow, memories flooding back of how utterly outmatched they were. Sasuke, Sakura, run! He shouted, creating another wave of clones to cover their retreat. I'll hold him off. Fool, Orochimaru hissed, suddenly behind Naruto, fingers digging into his shoulder. You're a decade too early to challenge me. Pain exploded through Naruto's body as he was hurled across the clearing, slamming through 3 trees before a fourth finally arrested his momentum. Blood filled his mouth, vision swimming as he struggled to stand. Through the haze of pain, he saw Orochimaru advancing on Sasuke, who stood frozen like a rabbit before a snake. Sakura had placed herself between them, kunai raised in trembling hands. How touching, Orochimaru mocked. But futile. His neck extended impossibly, head shooting forward like a striking serpent, jaws unhinging to reveal elongated fangs aimed directly at Sasuke's exposed neck. Time slowed to a crawl. Naruto felt something surge within him, not the Nine-Tails' chaotic power, but the cooler, steadier current of his Uzumaki heritage. Golden light erupted from his outstretched hands. No! The cry tore from his throat as chains exploded across the clearing, crossing the distance faster than thought. One chain wrapped around Sasuke's midsection, yanking him backwards just as Orochimaru's fangs snapped where his neck had been. Another set of chains formed a lattice barrier, golden links interweaving between Orochimaru and Team 7. The snake Sannin recoiled, genuine surprise flickering across his face as his neck retracted to normal proportions. Adamantine sealing chains? How unexpected. Naruto staggered to his feet, blood dripping from his chin as he maintained the barrier with trembling concentration. The chains hummed with power, golden light illuminating the clearing in a warm glow that pushed back the oppressive darkness. Sasuke, Sakura, he gritted out, get behind me. For once, Sasuke didn't argue, moving to flank Naruto alongside Sakura. The 3 genin stood together, facing the legendary rogue ninja across the shimmering golden barrier. Orochimaru circled, studying the chains with disturbing fascination. The Uzumaki legacy lives, it seems. I watched Kushina Uzumaki use these very chains during the last war, you know. Devastating technique. She single-handedly stopped an advance of 50 IWAnin. The casual mention of his mother sent a jolt through Naruto, nearly breaking his concentration. You knew my mother? Knew of her, Orochimaru corrected, running a pale finger along one of the chains, then withdrawing it with a hiss as the contact burned his skin. The Uzumaki were legend, boy. Their sealing techniques surpassed even the second Hokage's understanding. It's why Uzushiogekiro was destroyed. Fear of power that could bind even the greatest of forces. His serpentine eyes fixed on Naruto with new interest. The adamantine chains were their crowning achievement. Living chakra constructs that could contain even-tailed beasts. Only the strongest Uzumaki could manifest them. A thin smile spread across his face. How fascinating that they've appeared in a half-blood barely into his teens. The chains wavered as Naruto's strength began to flag. His earlier injuries and the strain of maintaining the barrier taking their toll. Sweat beaded on his forehead, running into his eyes and blurring his vision. Orochimaru noticed immediately. Your control is rudimentary at best. Another minute and you'll collapse. Then we better not wait, Sasuke growled, hands already moving through seals. Naruto, on my mark, drop the barrier. Sakura, flash bombs ready. You think you can escape me? Orochimaru laughed, the sound devoid of any human warmth. No, Sasuke replied, a dangerous glint in his Sharingan eyes. We think we can hurt you. Before Orochimaru could respond, Sasuke barked, now! The barrier chains dissolved as Naruto redirected his remaining strength to offensive chains that shot toward Orochimaru's legs. Simultaneously, Sakura hurled 3 flash bombs that detonated in sequence, blinding light searing across the clearing. Sasuke's great fireball jutsu followed, directly targeting the spot where their attacks had pinned the Sannin. Explosion rocked the forest floor, trees igniting as the fireball expanded to unnatural size, fed by some accelerants Sasuke had prepared. Through the chaos, Team 7 bolted, Naruto supported between his teammates, as they fled into the burning forest. Did we get him? Sakura gasped as they ran. Not even close, Sasuke replied grimly. But we bought time. They ran until Naruto's legs gave out entirely, collapsing in a hollow formed by the massive roots of an ancient tree. Sasuke immediately set traps around their temporary shelter while Sakura examined Naruto's injuries. Your chains, she whispered, hands gentle as she cleaned blood from his face. They saved Sasuke. Naruto managed a weak grin. That's what they're for. Sasuke returned, crouching beside them with uncharacteristic concern shadowing his features. We need to reach the tower. Fast. That was no ordinary ninja, Orochimaru, Sakura confirmed, voice shaking slightly. One of the legendary Sannin. An S-rank criminal who defected from Konoha years ago. And he wants Sasuke, Naruto added, wincing as he shifted position. Something about your eyes. Sasuke's expression darkened. He won't get them. Through the pain and exhaustion fogging his mind, Naruto felt something shift between them, a new understanding, forged in shared danger. His chains had protected Sasuke without hesitation, without thought. In that moment, whatever rivalry existed between them had been secondary to survival. Get some rest, Sasuke said, settling into a guard position. I'll take first watch. We move at first light. Sakura nodded, arranging herself protectively near Naruto. Your chakras depleted. Sleep if you can. Naruto didn't argue, his eyelids already drooping. As consciousness faded, the image of golden chains shimmering in moonlight followed him into dreams, along with Orochimaru's disturbing revelation about his mother's power, and why her homeland had been destroyed. The preliminary arena echoed with the impact of flesh against flesh, grunts of exertion, and the occasional gasps from observing genin as battles determined who would advance to the final tournament. High above the combat floor, Jonin instructors and proctors watched with critical eyes, evaluating not just victories, but potential. Naruto leaned against the railing, azure eyes tracking the current match with unusual focus. 5 days had passed since their encounter with Orochimaru in the Forest of Death. 5 days of recovery, of processing how narrowly they'd escaped, of wondering what the Snake Sannin's true objective had been. Sasuke had already won his preliminary match despite the strange mark Orochimaru had managed to place on him in a subsequent encounter. Now he stood with Kakashi, both watching Naruto with expressions that mixed concern and calculation. Uzumaki Naruto vs Abumizaku, the proctor announced, voice echoing through the arena as the previous match's competitors were removed. Finally, Naruto pushed away from the railing, rolling his shoulders to loosen muscles still stiff from their forest ordeal. Sakura caught his arm as he passed. Be careful. That sound ninja specializes in long-range air pressure attacks from those tubes in his arms. Don't get caught in his direct line of fire. Naruto flashed her his signature grin. Don't worry, Sakura-chan. I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. He descended the stairs to the combat floor, facing a sneering teen with spiky black hair and metal gauntlets covering both arms. Bandages wrapped Sokka's right arm, evidence of an injury sustained during their Forest of Death encounters. Begin! The proctor called, leaping clear of the combat zone. Sokka wasted no time, his left arm swinging up to point at Naruto. Slicing sound wave, compressed air blasted across the arena, tearing gouges in the concrete floor as it raced toward Naruto. He dodged sideways, the attack missing by inches as he assessed his opponent's capabilities. One-armed and still too much for you, leaf trash. Zaku taunted, adjusting his aim to track Naruto's movement. Another blast forced Naruto into a desperate roll. The arena offered minimal cover and limited space to maneuver, exactly the environment that favored a long-range specialist, like Zaku. Close-quarters combat was Naruto's strength, but crossing that distance would be challenging. Time to change the game. Golden light flared around Naruto's hands as chains erupted from his palms. A collective gasp rose from the observing genin. This technique hadn't been seen in the previous forest encounters. What the hell? Zaku's confidence faltered momentarily before his sneer returned. Fancy light show won't save you. He unleashed another sound wave, more powerful than before. Naruto's chains shot toward the ceiling, anchoring into the concrete, and yanking him upward just as the attack passed beneath him. Suspended above the arena, he swung like a pendulum, using the momentum to launch himself toward his opponent. Zaku pivoted, trying to track the aerial approach, but Naruto released one chain and sent another spearing toward the opposite wall, changing directions midair. The sound ninja's attack blasted harmlessly below him as he swung in a wide arc around the arena's perimeter. Above in the observation area, the Jonin watched with undisguised interest. Adamantine ceiling chains, Kurinai murmured, crimson eyes widening. I thought that technique died with Kushina. Asuma chewed thoughtfully on his unlit cigarette. An Uzumaki Kekkei Genkai. Rare even when the clan was intact. Most interesting, Guy remarked, uncharacteristically serious. The boys using them for mobility rather than their traditional binding purpose. Creative. Kakashi's visible eye curved slightly. He's adapting to his opponent. The chains give him three-dimensional movement options in an environment designed for two-dimensional combat. Back on the floor, Naruto had established a rhythm. Swing, release, re-anchor, swing again. Each arc brought him closer to Zaku, who grew increasingly frustrated as his attacks shattered concrete but failed to connect with his acrobatic opponent. Stay still, you monkey! The sound ninja snarled, his injured arm twitching as if he longed to bring it into play. What's wrong? Naruto taunted as he swung overhead. Can't hit what you can't track? Fury clouded Zaku's judgment. With a roar of frustration, he raised both arms despite the obvious pain it caused him. Extreme decapitating sound wave. The combined output of both sound tubes created a massive pressure wave that tore across the arena, far wider than his previous attacks. But it also caused his already damaged arms to rupture, tubes backfiring into his own flesh. His scream echoed through the arena as he collapsed to his knees. Naruto didn't waste the opening. He released his chains, dropping directly in front of the injured sound ninja. A solid punch to the jaw snapped Zaku's head back, laying him flat on the arena floor, unconscious before he hit the ground. Winner, Uzumaki Naruto. The proctor announced after confirming Zaku couldn't continue. Cheers erupted from the Leaf Genin, Sakura's voice rising above the others. Naruto grinned, pumping his fist in the air before making his way back to the observation level. As he climbed the stairs, he caught fragments of conversation from the Jonin above. Implications of an Uzumaki heir with this ability. Wonder if he knows what those chains can really do. Report this to the Hokage immediately. Naruto filed away their reactions for later consideration. For now, the triumph of victory sang in his veins as he rejoined his teammates. That was amazing! Sakura exclaimed, genuine admiration lighting her features. The way you used the chains for movement instead of just attacking. I've never seen anything like it. Not bad, Sasuke acknowledged, the closest thing to a compliment Naruto had ever received from him. Your control has improved. Kakashi's hand settled on Naruto's shoulder, squeezing briefly. Well done. Creative application of your mother's technique. Pride swelled in Naruto's chest, warming him from within. Thanks, Kakashi-sensei. As the next match was announced, Naruto found his thoughts already racing ahead to the finals. The preliminary had shown him both the potential and limitations of his chains in structured combat. Against Zaku, mobility had been key. Against other opponents, different applications would be needed. The golden light of his mother's legacy had shown the world that Naruto Uzumaki was more than just the unpredictable knucklehead ninja of Konoha. He was the heir to a powerful clan technique thought lost to history, and he was just getting started. Twilight painted the training ground in watercolor hues of purple and gold as Naruto collapsed onto his back, chest heaving from exertion. Chains dissipated around him, golden particles floating upward like luminescent dandelion seeds before winking out of existence. 1 month. That's all the time he had before the Chunin exam finals. 1 month to refine his techniques, build his stamina, and prepare strategies for potential opponents. The matchups had been determined immediately after the preliminaries. Naruto would face Hyuga Niji in the first round. Your control is still inconsistent, Ebisu observed, adjusting his dark glasses as he made notes in a small book. The chains manifest quickly now, but their precision diminishes after approximately 3 minutes of continuous use. Naruto groaned, throwing an arm over his eyes to block the fading sunlight. I know. I'm working on it. After the preliminaries, Kakashi had been forced to focus exclusively on Sasuke, preparing him to face the formidable Gaara in his first round match. With reluctance, he'd assigned Ebisu to continue Naruto's training. To both their surprise, the arrangement was working better than expected. Ebisu's obsession with technical precision complemented Naruto's improvisational style, forcing him to refine aspects of the chains he might otherwise have neglected. Your match against Hyuga Neji presents unique challenges, Ebisu continued, consulting his notes. His Byakugan gives him near 360-degree vision and the ability to see chakra pathways. Your chains, being pure chakra constructs, will be completely visible to him, even in formation. So surprise attacks are out, Naruto concluded, sitting up to brush grass from his hair. Indeed. Furthermore, his gentle fist technique could potentially disrupt your chakra flow if he lands strikes near the points where your chains manifest. Naruto frowned, considering this problem. So I need to keep him at a distance while still being able to attack. Precisely. Ebisu pushed his glasses higher on his nose, a gesture Naruto had come to recognize as his version of approval. Which brings me to today's final exercise. The special Jonin retrieved something from his pack, a set of small bells attached to thin threads. He hung them from tree branches at varying heights and distances throughout the training ground. Your objective is simple: retrieve all 12 bells using only your chains, without disturbing the threads they hang from. Precision control, not power. Naruto eyed the challenge with determination. The closest bell hung perhaps 15 feet away, while the farthest must have been nearly 50 feet from their position. Some dangled in open spaces, others were partially obscured by foliage. This is exactly what I need for facing Neji, he realized, climbing to his feet with renewed energy. If I can grab those bells without disturbing the threads, you'll have achieved the control necessary to target his Tenketsu points while avoiding his defensive sphere, Ebisu finished. The Hyuga clan's ultimate defense has one critical weakness: it requires conscious activation. If you can strike precisely enough, fast enough. Naruto nodded, understanding the strategy. He centered himself, focusing on the golden current that had become a familiar presence in his chakra network. Light bloomed around his hands as a single chain materialized, more slender than his usual combat versions. Its links hummed softly as he directed it toward the nearest bell. The chain moved with agonizing slowness, each inch forward a careful negotiation between power and control. When it reached the bell, Naruto faced the trickiest part: wrapping around the small metal object without disturbing its thread. The chain touched the bell, which chimed softly before being gently enveloped in golden links. With excruciating care, Naruto lifted it from its thread and retracted the chain, depositing the bell in his palm with a satisfied grin. 1 down, 11 to go, he announced, pocketing the bell. And I'm just getting warmed up. As he turned his attention to the next target, movement at the edge of the training ground caught his eye. Jiraiya leaned against a tree, arms folded across his broad chest as he observed the training session. Don't mind me, the Sannin called. Just checking on my investment. Naruto's eyebrows shot up. You're what now? Figure of speech, kid. Jiraiya ambled closer, nodding respectfully to Ebisu. Heard about your performance in the preliminaries. Creative use of the chains for mobility. Thanks, Naruto replied, unsure how to take the Sannin's interest. Since their encounter after his Nine Tails incident, Jiraiya had been sporadically present, offering advice on the relationship between his chains and the seal, but never committing to formal training. You've been consulting the scrolls I provided? Jiraiya asked, examining one of Ebisu's bell targets with apparent admiration for the exercise's design. Every night, Naruto confirmed. The ancient Uzumaki scrolls contained diagrams and theory far beyond his current ability, but they provided glimpses of what the chains could ultimately achieve. Some of it's still too advanced, but I'm getting there. Jiraiya nodded thoughtfully. Your mother was twice your age before she mastered the barrier formations. Then I'll do it in half the time, Naruto declared, determination burning in his azure eyes. I'm facing Neji Hyuga in the first round, and I'm going to win. Bold statement, Jiraiya remarked, though his tone held approval rather than doubt. The Hyuga prodigy won't be easily overcome. Neither will the Uzumaki heir, Naruto countered, manifesting another chain to target the second bell. This one hung partially obscured by leaves, requiring him to navigate the chain through narrow spaces without disturbing the foliage. As twilight deepened into true darkness, Naruto continued his practice, gradually increasing the complexity. 2 chains, then 3, operating simultaneously to retrieve multiple bells. Sweat poured down his face, his chakra network burning with exertion, but he refused to stop until the final bell rested in his palm. Ebisu and Jiraiya watched in silence, occasionally exchanging glances that communicated professional assessment. When the last bell chimed its surrender, Naruto finally allowed himself to collapse onto the grass, 12 small victories jingling in his pockets. Your stamina has improved, Ebisu noted, making a final entry in his notebook. Tomorrow we'll work on combat applications of the precision techniques you demonstrated tonight. I'll be adding something to your training regimen as well, Jiraiya announced, his casual tone belying the significance of the offer. If you're serious about mastering these chains before the finals, you'll need specialized instruction that goes beyond technical exercises. Naruto sat up, excitement cutting through his exhaustion. You're going to train me? For real this time? Don't get too excited, Jiraiya warned. What I have in mind won't be pleasant. The relationship between your chains and the Ninetales is complex. Understanding it fully means confronting what's sealed inside you. The memory of crimson eyes and ancient hatred flashed through Naruto's mind. His encounter with the fox had been brief but profound, opening questions he wasn't sure he wanted answered. If it makes me stronger, he said finally, voice steady despite his apprehension, I'll do whatever it takes. Jiraiya studied him for a long moment, as if seeing past the determined exterior to the uncertainty beneath. Your mother said something similar once, just before she became Jinchuriki. The casual revelation landed like a physical blow. My mother was a Jinchuriki. Like me? The Ninetales' previous container, Jiraiya confirmed, apparently deciding Naruto was ready for this piece of his history. Her chains were instrumental in controlling its power. Just as they could be for you. Stars had emerged overhead, diamond chips scattered across black velvet. Naruto stared up at them, processing this new connection to the woman he'd never known. Her legacy ran deeper than he'd imagined, not just the chains, but the burden of containing the Ninetales itself. Tomorrow, he said finally, pocketing the last bell. I'm ready to learn whatever you can teach me. As he walked back toward the village, bells jingling softly in his pockets, Naruto felt the weight of expectation and possibility balanced precariously on his shoulders. The finals loomed ahead, a stage where he could show the world what an Uzumaki heir could do. But first, he had a date with the demon fox that had shaped both his fate and his mother's before him. The roar of the stadium crowd died in an instant, replaced by a silence so absolute it seemed to have physical weight. White feathers drifted through the air like snowflakes, spectators slumping in their seats as the genjutsu took hold. In the Kage viewing box, chaos erupted, a smoke bomb detonating as dark figures converged on the third Hokage. Naruto's hands formed the release seal instinctively. Kai! The illusion shattered around him, the world snapping back into sharp focus as adrenaline flooded his system. Sakura! He shouted, spotting her pink hair 3 rows ahead. She was already on her feet, kunai in hand, having dispelled the genjutsu as well. It's an invasion! She called back, emerald eyes scanning the stadium where Anbu and Jonin were already engaging enemy shinobi in explosive confrontations. Sand and sound. They're working together. The arena floor, where Sasuke's match against Gaara had been interrupted, now stood empty. The red-haired Sand Genin had vanished along with his siblings, leaving only swirling dust and the unconscious body of the proctor. Kakashi appeared beside them in a blur of movement, deflecting a kunai aimed at Naruto's back. Stay close, he ordered, Sharingan exposed and swirling. This isn't a drill. Sasuke went after Gaara, Sakura reported, pointing toward a hole blasted in the stadium wall. The Sand team retreated that way. Before Kakashi could respond, an explosion rocked the stadium's eastern section. Concrete and steel rained down as massive 3-headed snake burst through the outer wall, crushing civilians who hadn't succumbed to the genjutsu. Evacuation protocols, Kakashi snapped, forming quick hand signs. Academy students in the northwest quadrant. Get them to shelter. I'm needed at the Hokage Tower. His gaze locked with Naruto's, conveying volumes in a single glance. Use your chains if necessary. Don't hold back. Then he was gone, leaving Naruto and Sakura in the rapidly disintegrating stadium. Another explosion sent tremors through the structure, dust billowing from fracturing supports. Northwest quadrant, Naruto repeated, grabbing Sakura's wrist. Come on! They raced through the panicking crowd, leaping over unconscious bodies and ducking under clashing kunai as skirmishes erupted throughout the stands. The northwestern section held the academy viewing area, where Iruka had brought his current class to witness the finals as a field trip. There. Sakura pointed toward a cluster of children huddled behind an overturned bench. Iruka stood protectively before them, fending off a sound ninja with grim determination. Naruto's hands flashed through the now familiar sign sequence. Shadow Clone Jutsu. A dozen duplicates materialized around him, charging toward the sound attacker and buying Irika precious seconds to regroup. Naruto! Relief flooded Irika's face as they reached him. Blood trickled from a shallow cut on his forehead, but determination burned in his eyes. We need to get the children to the evacuation shelter in the mountain. How many? Sakura asked, already assessing the terrified academy students. 23, Irika answered, voice tight with tension. Most are first years. They can't move quickly or defend themselves. Another explosion rocked the stadium, closer this time. Debris rained down, a massive chunk of concrete smashing into seats mere yards from their position. Through the newly created gap in the wall, Naruto could see Konoha burning, buildings aflame, ninja clashing on rooftops, civilians fleeing through smoke-choked streets. The direct evacuation route is compromised, Irika said grimly, pointing toward the eastern path where the giant snake still rampaged. We need an alternate route. Naruto's mind raced, calculating options. The mountain evacuation shelter lay nearly a mile away, across terrain that would soon become a battlefield. 23 children, none with combat training, all needing protection. I have an idea, he said, azure eyes glinting with sudden resolve. Get them into a tight group. While Irika and Sakura gathered the frightened children, Naruto climbed atop the stadium seating, gaining a vantage point. The path to the mountain looked like a war zone. Sand and sound ninja pouring through breached walls, leave shinobi engaging them in desperate combat. Not that way, he decided. Not through that gauntlet of enemies. He closed his eyes, feeling for the cool, golden current that had become so familiar. This time, instead of restricting the flow to create discrete chains, he opened himself fully to it, allowing the Uzumaki chakra to surge through his network without limitation. Naruto? Sakura's voice seemed distant. What are you? Golden light exploded from his body, chains erupting not just from his hands but from his shoulders, back, chest, every chakra point simultaneously. They shot outward in all directions, far more than he'd ever manifested before, links humming with power as they curved through the air like living things. Stay close to me, he shouted, voice strained with effort as he directed the chains to form a dome around the gathered children, Irika and Sakura. The golden barrier solidified, chains interweaving to create a lattice too dense for weapons to penetrate. Light filtered through the links, casting honeyed patterns across the faces of the awestruck children. Whoa, breathed a small boy with glasses too big for his face. Are you an Uzumaki? My grandpa told me stories about them. Despite the strain, Naruto grinned. Yeah, kid. I am. He turned to Irika, whose expression reflected stunned recognition. We move together. The chains go where I go, so everyone stays inside the barrier. Sakura, take the rear guard. Irika-sensei, lead from the front. Naruto, this is... Irika began, trailing off as words failed him. Super cool, right? Naruto finished, sweat beading on his forehead from the effort of maintaining so many chains. Let's go before I run out of chakra. Their strange golden convoy began moving through the disintegrating stadium, the barrier rolling with them like an enormous hamster ball made of glowing chains. Where debris fell, the chains reinforced, absorbing impacts that would have crushed unprotected bodies. At the stadium exit, they encountered their first direct opposition, 3 sound ninjas blocking the path, hands already forming seals. Fire style, flame bullet. One shouted, expelling a massive fireball directly at the chain barrier. Naruto gritted his teeth, focusing on the point of impact. The chains there thickened, links compressing to create an impenetrable wall. Fire washed over the golden surface, heat radiating through but no flame penetrating. That won't work, Naruto managed through clenched teeth. Without breaking stride, he sent 3 chains spearing through gaps in the barrier, catching the startled sound ninja and hurling them aside like rag dolls. Their progress continued through Konoha's burning streets. The chain barrier became a beacon, visible from all corners of the embattled village, a golden dome rolling inexorably toward the mountain shelters. Twice more they encountered enemies, and twice more Naruto's chains dispatched them while maintaining the protective shield. How are you doing this? Sakura asked quietly as they navigated a narrow alley. I've never seen you make so many chains at once. Neither have I, Naruto admitted, his voice tight with strain. Sweat now poured down his face, his chakra network burning with effort. Something about protecting them makes it easier. The adamantine chains respond to the will to protect, Irika said, glancing back with newfound understanding. Kushina-sama once shielded an entire platoon during the war. The Uzumaki were legendary for their defensive capabilities. Naruto absorbed this information silently, too focused on maintaining the barrier to respond. Each step sent fresh jolts of pain through his overtaxed system, but the sight of the children's hopeful faces strengthened his resolve. Finally, the mountain loomed before them, evacuation shelter doors standing open as civilians and wounded streamed inside. As they approached, ninjas stationed at the entrance stared in disbelief at the golden dome rolling toward them. "I can't hold it much longer," Naruto gasped as they reached the shelter's threshold. The chains had begun to shimmer, his control faltering under the prolonged strain. "Everyone inside, quickly!" Iruka ordered, ushering the children through the shelter doors. As the last student crossed the threshold, Naruto released the technique. The barrier collapsed in a shower of golden particles, chains dissolving into motes of light that drifted away like fireflies. His knees buckled, vision swimming as exhaustion crashed over him in a suffocating wave. Sakura caught him before he hit the ground. "Easy," she murmured, supporting his weight. "You did it, Naruto. They're safe. Rest here," Iruka insisted, concern etched across his scarred face. "You've done more than enough." Naruto shook his head, forcing himself to stand despite the trembling in his limbs. "Sasuke," he managed. "He went after Gaara. He doesn't know what he's up against." "What do you mean?" Sakura's grip on his arm tightened. "Gaara." Naruto hesitated, unsure how to explain what he'd sensed during their brief encounters. "He's like me. A Jinchuriki. But he can't control it." Iruka's eyes widened with realization. "Naruto, you can't." "I have to," he cut in, steeling himself against the bone-deep fatigue. "If Gaara fully transforms, Sasuke won't stand a chance." "Then I'm coming with you," Sakura declared, her tone brooking no argument. Naruto looked at Iruka, silently asking permission. The Chunin instructor sighed heavily, then nodded. "Go. But be careful, both of you. The village needs you alive, not heroically dead." With a final glance at the children they'd rescued, now gathered around a wide-eyed academy instructor explaining that yes, those really had been the legendary Adamantine chains, Naruto and Sakura raced back into the burning village. The forest blurred around them as they followed Sasuke's trail, the devastation left in Gaara's wake making tracking almost too easy. Shattered trees, gouges torn in the earth, and the occasional splash of blood marked their path with ominous clarity. "He's transforming," Naruto panted as they leapt from branch to branch. "I can feel it, like pressure in the air." Sakura didn't question how he knew, merely nodded and increased her pace. "We need to hurry." They found Sasuke in a clearing 2 miles from the village, on his knees, curse mark crawling across his skin as he struggled to stand. Before him loomed a nightmare, Gaara, half transformed, his right side engulfed by the One-Tail's manifestation. Sandy fur, veined with blue chakra markings, covered his arm and face. A single massive eye, gold with a 4-pointed star pupil, rolled in its socket as he laughed maniacally. "Is this all the mighty Uchiha can offer?" Gaara shrieked, his voice overlaid with something ancient and inhuman. "Mother wants more blood. She wants your existence erased." His transformed arm swung down like a wrecking ball, aiming to crush Sasuke's prone form. Naruto moved without conscious thought, golden chains erupting from his palms to wrap around Gaara's monstrous limb, arresting its descent mere inches from Sasuke's head. "What is this?" Gaara howled, yanking against the restraints. The chains held, humming with power as they contained the partial transformation. "Sasuke!" Sakura landed beside the exhausted Uchiha, pulling him away from the immediate danger zone. "Are you alright?" "Took you long enough," Sasuke managed, Sharingan fading as his chakra reserves bottomed out. Despite his condition, a hint of his usual smirk ghosted across his features. "The monster transformation started after I landed at Chidori." Naruto strained against Gaara's inhuman strength, chains creaking as the sand Jinchuriki thrashed in their grip. "Little busy here," he called. "Could use some tactical input." Sakura, her analytical mind kicked into high gear, assessing the situation with remarkable clarity. "His transformation is accelerating. See how the sand is spreading? We need to contain it before he fully manifests the One-Tail." "My chains can bind him," Naruto grunted, sweat pouring down his face as he reinforced the golden restraints. "But not for long at this rate." "Then we strike now, together," Sasuke said, forcing himself to his feet despite Sakura's protests. "One coordinated attack while he's restrained." Gaara roared, the sound splitting the air like thunder. Sand erupted from his gourd, swirling around him in a protective tornado. The transformation continued inexorably, his legs now morphing into the One-Tail's hindquarters. "I feel it," Naruto said suddenly, azure eyes widening. "The chains, they're resonating with whatever's inside him. Just like with the Nine Tails." "What does that mean?" Sakura demanded, kunai at the ready. "It means I might be able to suppress the transformation itself, not just restrain his physical form." Determination hardened Naruto's features. I need you two to distract him while I get closer. Sasuke nodded, hands already forming seals despite his exhaustion. Fire style. Phoenix flower jutsu. Small, precise fireballs peppered Gaara's transforming body, each one causing the sand armor to vitrify on impact, creating patches of glass-like brittleness. Simultaneously, Sakura launched a barrage of kunai with explosive tags attached, timing them to detonate just as Sasuke's fire created vulnerable points. The combined assault didn't hurt Gaara significantly, but it accomplished its purpose, drawing his attention away from Naruto, who circled behind, golden chains still maintaining their grip on the sand Jinchuriki's transformed arm. Now! Naruto shouted, plunging forward as Sakura and Sasuke executed another coordinated attack from the front. Golden chains erupted from his body, more than he'd ever consciously controlled, wrapping around Gaara in an intricate web. But instead of merely restraining the physical transformation, Naruto directed them with newfound insight, chains penetrating the sandy exterior to reach the chakra network beneath. What are you doing? Gaara screamed, his voice now completely overtaken by the One-Tail's monstrous tones. Mother! He's touching Mother, not your mother, Naruto gritted out, forging a connection through the chains. The One-Tail. Shikaku. And I'm not letting him take over. Something remarkable happened then. The chains began to glow brighter, resonating at a frequency that made the very air vibrate. Where they contacted Gaara's transforming body, the sand receded, forced back by the Uzumaki sealing technique. Through the connection, Naruto experienced a momentary, disorienting glimpse into Gaara's consciousness. A lifetime of isolation, of being feared, of a village that viewed him only as a weapon. Beneath the homicidal mania lay a child desperately seeking acknowledgement, driven to prove his existence through destruction when no other path seemed available. He's like me, Naruto realized with stunning clarity. What I could have become without Iruka-sensei, without the third, without Team 7. I know what you are, Naruto said, voice carrying strange power as the chains pulsed in rhythm with his words. I know because I am too. But this isn't the answer, Gaara. You know nothing. Gaara thrashed against the restraints, but the chains held firm, continuing to force back the transformation. My existence is validated only by killing others. That is my purpose. That's what they told you, Naruto countered, inching closer despite the danger. But they lied. We're not just weapons. We're people with the right to choose our own paths. The chains tightened, not crushing but containing, forcing more of the One-Tail's influence back into its seal. Gaara's transformed eye widened in disbelief as his bestial arm began reverting to human form. How are you doing this? He demanded, genuine fear replacing rage in his voice. What are you? I'm Naruto Uzumaki, he answered simply. Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox. And these chains are my inheritance, my mother's legacy. Understanding dawned in Gaara's eyes, recognition of a shared burden, of someone who truly comprehended the isolation of containing a tailed beast. You had no one, Naruto continued, chains still working to suppress the One-Tail's chakra. No one who saw you as anything but the monster inside you. I got lucky. I found people who saw past the Nine-Tails. People worth protecting. The transformation continued to recede, sand crumbling away to reveal more of Gaara's human form. Sasuke and Sakura watched in astonished silence as Naruto accomplished with words what their combined attacks could not. It doesn't have to be this way, Naruto insisted, as your eyes locked with Gaara's turquoise ones. Being a Jinchuriki doesn't define you. It's just a part of you. You can choose something different. A shudder ran through Gaara's body as the last of the transformation receded. The chains loosened but remained in place, a golden network that now supported rather than restrained. Tears streaked through the remaining sand on Gaara's face, carving clean tracks down his cheeks. How? He whispered, the single word carrying the weight of a lifetime's suffering. How do you stay human? The question struck Naruto to his core. Not because it was difficult to answer, but because until that moment, he hadn't fully appreciated his own journey. By caring about others more than myself, he replied, the chains between them pulsing with the sincerity of his words. By finding people worth living for, not reasons to kill. Gaara's eyes closed, his body going limp within the golden network. The chains lowered him gently to the forest floor as exhaustion claimed them both. Naruto staggered, vision tunneling as the last of his chakra reserves depleted. Naruto! Sakura was beside him instantly, supporting him as his knees buckled. Is he dead? Sasuke asked cautiously, moving closer to the motionless sand Jinchuriki. No, Naruto muttered, struggling to remain conscious. Just at peace. Maybe for the first time. As darkness closed in around his vision, Naruto was vaguely aware of reinforcements arriving, Leaf Jonin and Anbu securing the area, voices raised in surprise at the scene before them. The last thing he registered was Kakashi's masked face looking down at him with a mixture of pride and concern. "Well done," his sensei said softly. Kushina would be proud. Then consciousness slipped away entirely. Naruto's last thought a simple satisfaction that, for once, he had saved someone not with violence, but with understanding. The Hokage Tower bore the scars of invasion, scaffolding covering damaged sections, workmen rebuilding what had been destroyed. 3 days had passed since the sand-sound assault, and Konoha was slowly recovering, wounds healing beneath fresh bandages. Naruto stood before the council chamber doors, uncharacteristically nervous as he waited to be called inside. His body had recovered quickly, as always, but the memories remained vivid, chains of golden light, a barrier protecting innocence, the moment of connection with another Jinchuriki. "They're ready for you," an Anbu announced, materializing beside him with silent efficiency. Naruto nodded, straightening his orange jacket before pushing through the heavy doors. Inside, the village elders sat in a semicircle, faces grave with the weight of recent events. Among them, the third Hokage occupied the central position, piped smoke wreathing his weathered features. "Naruto Uzumaki," he began, voice carrying the formal tone of official proceedings. "You have been summoned to provide a first-hand account of your actions during the invasion, particularly regarding the academy evacuation and the containment of the Sand Jinchuriki." Naruto swallowed hard, suddenly aware of how many eyes were fixed upon him, not with the familiar coldness of the past, but with something new. Curiosity. Respect. Assessment. "The village thanks you for your service," the third continued, a warm undercurrent softening his official tone. "Particularly your protection of our youngest citizens." "I just did what anyone would do," Naruto replied, uncomfortable with the formality. Koharu Udatane, one of the village's eldest advisors, leaned forward. "Not anyone could have done what you did, young man. The adamantine sealing chains are an Uzumaki Kekii Genkai of remarkable rarity. Even among that clan, few could manifest them with such dramatic effectiveness." Hamura Mitokado nodded agreement. 23 children, 2 chunin, and yourself, all protected by a barrier that withstood multiple high-level attacks. Impressive for a genin of any lineage. "And then there's the matter of Gaara of the desert," added Danzo Shimura, his visible eye narrowed with calculation. "You subdued a rampaging Jinchuriki not just physically, but managed to suppress the One-Tail's influence directly. Explain how you accomplished this." Naruto shifted uncomfortably under Danzo's scrutiny. "The chains, they respond to my intention to protect. When I connected with Gaara, I realized protection meant more than just stopping his attack, it meant saving him from the tailed beast's influence." "Fascinating," Danzo murmured, though something in his tone suggested he found it more tactically valuable than personally moving. The third Hokage raised a hand, silencing further questioning. "What matters is the outcome. Your actions saved countless lives, Naruto, both during the evacuation and by preventing the full manifestation of the One-Tail within our territory. Thanks to your intervention," Hamura added, "the Sand Village has withdrawn their forces and sued for peace. It seems their Kazekage was assassinated and impersonated by Orochimaru, who manipulated them into this alliance with Sound." "And Gaara?" Naruto asked, unable to contain his concern for the fellow Jinchuriki. "Recovering, along with his siblings," the third answered. "They've returned to their village with a new perspective on Konoha. And on you specifically, I'm told." Relief washed through Naruto at this news. The connection he'd formed with Gaara felt important, significant beyond the immediate tactical victory. "The council has reviewed reports from Kakashi Hatake, Ira Kayumino, and several ANBU witnesses," the third continued. "There is unanimous agreement that your actions merit special recognition." Naruto blinked, unprepared for this turn. "Recognition?" "The adamantine sealing chains were thought lost with the fall of Yuzushiogakure," Koharu explained. "Their reappearance in a Konoha shinobi, particularly one with your unique circumstances, represents a significant asset to the village." Danzo leaned forward, his single visible eye fixed on Naruto with unsettling intensity. "With proper training, this ability could be developed into what the council means," the third interrupted smoothly, sending Danzo a quelling glance, "is that you've demonstrated not just power, but wisdom in its application. The mark of a true shinobi." He stood, approaching Naruto with formal dignity. "Therefore, by unanimous decision of this council, you are hereby granted field promotion to the rank of Chunin, effective immediately." Naruto's jaw dropped, azure eyes widening in shock. "Chunin?" But the exams weren't completed. "The purpose of the Chunin exams is to evaluate a genin's readiness for greater responsibility," the third explained, a grandfatherly smile softening his official demeanor. Your actions during the invasion provided more conclusive evidence than any tournament match could offer. He produced a folded Chunin vest from within his robes, presenting it to the stunned blonde. Congratulations, Naruto Uzumaki. Konoha recognizes your growth not just as a shinobi, but as a protector of this village. Naruto accepted the vest with trembling hands, the reality of the moment washing over him in successive waves. Not long ago, he'd been the dead last, the troublemaker, the container viewed with suspicion and fear. Now he stood before the village council, recognized not for the monster sealed within him, but for the legacy he'd inherited from his mother, the power to protect rather than destroy. Thank you, he managed, voice thick with emotion. I won't let you down. As he left the council chamber, vest clutched against his chest, Naruto found a reception committee waiting in the hallway. Sakura, beaming with pride, Sasuke, arms crossed but a hint of genuine respect in his dark eyes, Kakashi, visible eye curved in his approximation of a smile, and Irika, tears threatening despite his attempt at composure. Well? Sakura demanded. What did they say? In answer, Naruto held up the Chunin vest, a grin spreading across his whiskered face. Looks like I beat you both to Chunin after all, Sasuke snorted, though without real heat. Field promotion. Doesn't count. Tell that to the vest, Naruto retorted, sliding his arms into it with exaggerated ceremony. The olive green material settled over his orange jacket, surprisingly comfortable. Irika stepped forward, straightening the collar with paternal care. It suits you, Naruto. Though it might look better over something less orange. The vest changes, Kakashi observed lazily, but the ninja inside remains uniquely Naruto. They walked together through the tower and out into Konoha's streets, where reconstruction efforts continued under the warm spring sun. Citizens and shinobi alike paused in their work as Team 7 passed, eyes lingering on Naruto's new vest, whispers following in their wake. But the whispers had changed. No longer were they hissed warnings about the demon brat, the troublemaker, the container. Now they carried different words: Uzumaki, golden chains, save the academy children, stop the sand Jinchuriki. Recognition, not fear. Respect, not suspicion. As they reached Ichiraku-ramen, where Tucci had somehow managed to reopen despite the recent chaos, Naruto felt a profound sense of validation. The chains, his mother's legacy, had given him not just power, but purpose. Not just ability, but identity. First rounds on me, Kakashi announced, an unprecedented generosity that marked the significance of the occasion. To Konoha's newest Chunin, and the return of the adamantine chains to the village's arsenal. Bowls were raised in toast, steam rising like hopes toward a brightening future. Naruto grinned around his chopsticks, Chunin vest snug around his shoulders, the golden current of his heritage flowing strong and steady beneath his skin. His mother's chains had once protected Konoha. Now they did again, wielded by her son, no longer just Naruto the Jinchuriki, but Naruto Uzumaki, heir to a legendary legacy.